We're proud to bring you this live presentation on Racer TV of the 50th anniversary of the Progressive Grand National Cross Country Series, presented by Specialized, an AMA National Championship. 50 years of world premier off-road racing. 50 years of battling the gnarliest woods racing on the planet. It's time to start a new chapter. The next 50 years starts now.
GNCC returns to RacerTV.com this weekend for round number 3 in an all-new venue. Talladega, baby, for round number 3 in a tied points championship race between Walker Fowler and Bryson Neal. And it all starts right here, right now, on RacerTV.com.
GNCC Racing!
Good afternoon and welcome to round number 3 of the 2025 Progressive Grand National Cross Country Racing Series, presented by Specialized, your AMA National Championship. A new venue for us, Johnny Gallagher, the Talladega GNCC. We are literally across the street from the Talladega Motor Speedway, man. This is going to be a cool experience.
You know, it's I've done a lot of GNCC races in my time, but pulling in here, definitely a different vibe this weekend, and I think the excitement has really reached a new level. It's Talladega, baby. Let's go racing.
It's Talladega, man, and the 50th year of GNCC, and what's crazy, you think of, we won't dive into the details, we'll have plenty of time to do that throughout the year, but you think of where we started with the Blackwater 100. Big Dave has got to be smiling right now. We're racing in Talladega.
Absolutely. This is one of the most prominent speedways in the United States, in the world. For GNCC to come here, take over for the weekend, have this facility embrace us, it's just phenomenal. And like I said, man, boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing.
That's it. That is it. Well, we've already had 2 races in the books, obviously, with Big Buck, and then, of course, the GNCC. When we get right down to it, Walker Fowler has a win, and now Bryson Neal with a win. We're tied in the points championship. The 2 heavy hitters are out front. They could run the reverse plate. I think we know how those guys play that one, but nonetheless, kind of what we expected out of the first 2 rounds from those 2.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, coming into the season, I think we knew that both of those guys were going to be up front. Obviously, there were some other names in the mix. We saw Wyatt Wilkin get up, finally get that podium. When I say finally, only 2 rounds in, but within a DNF at round 1, definitely throwing himself back in the mix. Little shout out to Wyatt, running those Intimidator graphics here for the NASCAR weekend, and you know he's going to be carrying those with pride, and the fans are going to be leaning over the fences and cheering him on. But yeah, Bryson Neal, phenomenal ride there in Florida. Walker Fowler giving him his best stuff, but just coming up short, and now they're tied. So it's almost like being back on the line at round 1. These guys are absolutely neck and neck in the standings, and we're going to find out today. Only one of these 2 guys will be able to leave here with the points lead.
That's exactly it. And if you look at last year, it was really kind of a mulligan race by each guy. That was what brought it down to the very last race of the season. So those guys know as well as anybody that, hey, wins are awesome. You've definitely really got to be on the podium if you want to be in that championship contention.
Absolutely, and being in the podium like we talked about already. Obviously, at round number 1, you know, there was 3 riders coming across essentially neck and neck and neck for those podium finishes. We had Hunter Hart, Wyatt Wilkin, and obviously Austin Abney grabbing that 3rd place spot. Then at round 2, it was Wyatt Wilkin getting that 3rd place spot, but literally feet from the finish line. Stephen Harrell fighting in for that podium position, destroying his ATV, limping it across the finish line for another near podium. So he's a rider that we keep talking about. I think we're going to see him on the box soon. And then there was a whole slew of other guys that, honestly, I think a lot of riders disappointed with their performance in Florida. The nice thing about this back-to-back race weekend, 6 days later, here we are. They get a chance to redeem themselves.
That's absolutely correct. I think a couple of those guys, name a couple more. Hunter Hart not having a great round number 2. He prides himself in the sands of Florida. You know he's going to be eager to kind of get back to those results from round number 1, maybe a podium for him. And then the guy we've not talked about yet, Jay Shad. What a ride by him in Florida, a round that he told me afterward. I said, man, do you like this place? He's like, absolutely not. Can't stand racing in the sand, but he embraced it, and he had an amazing day.
You know, Mikey, we talked about it so much a week ago on the show, but it's worth a mention here in the pre-show again today. As they get ready to go out there, Jay Shadron is doing something that I think many in the industry, many in the sport, many right here in this booth, did not think was possible. To come back from the injuries that he's had and the challenges that he has to overcome because of those injuries, to be competitive. I would have thought for him to ever finish in the top 20 overall again would have been a phenomenal achievement. Top 5 overall in Florida? Are you kidding me? This dude's a machine. Can't be happier for him, and he doesn't look like he's done yet. He's just getting rolling. So big shout out to Jay Shadron. We'll keep an eye on him today. We'll know it's him coming. He's got the headlights.
That's right. And you got the headlights. Want real quick, show some love to the XC2. Braxton Gross coming off a great ride.
Yeah, Braxton Gross getting it done. Big win in the sands of Florida. Alex Tiemann fighting his way back, getting himself on the box. Also, Danik Paquin, our visiting rider from Canada, on the podium last year in Florida, back again this year in Florida. And it's just, you know, he does very well on the sand. Those guys are going to be lining up. They're going to be chasing those XC1 guys and fighting for the win in that XC2 class.
Well, hey, we bench raced enough. A new track. We want to know what it's going to look like. And for that, we're going to throw it to Jackson Burrow, who stands by with our trail boss, Jared Bolton, for a Yamaha Racing course description.
All right, thanks, guys. We're down here with our trail boss, Jared Bolton. Jared, we're finally here in beautiful Talladega. Take us through it.
Man, I'm telling you, you look out here at the super speedway, you think, oh, we're going to be flying wide open, but that couldn't be further from the truth here. This track's actually, it's all brand new, it's fresh cut, it's super tight. The quad guys, man, they're going to be struggling for some passing opportunities. They're going to be blowing through some spots, making their own lines. And then the bike guys, they're going to make it easy on those boys. You know, they're going to have some single track too, but a little more open for them, still tight overall. It's going to be a really good track.
Hey, Jared, first time that we're here at the facility, what do you think is going to be some of the harder parts of this facility?
So, of course, we've got the Intimidator section for the bike. You had to pay that tribute to a NASCAR great. And for the quad guys, it's going to be the whole thing. There's nothing gnarly about the racetrack. It's just going to be really hard to find those passing opportunities. Those guys are going to have to work hard. And it's real twisty, so they're going to be working hard the whole time. They're going to get around about the 7-mile mark, and they're going to feel like this. I'm tired of turning. But they're in for a workout.
All right, guys, there's a glimpse of the track from the trail boss. Back up to you.
All right, thank you, Jackson and Jared, for that Yamaha Racing track description. Now we know what the woods around this Talladega facility look like, what these racers are going to be faced with, and out there challenging themselves on today. We're going to let our man Mikey Waynes go down and give some 10-second calls, get this race underway, and we're going to bring you all of the action live on Racer TV.
Everywhere but the seat. The seat is leather.
Alan, we get it. You love your bike. We do too.
That's why we're America's #1 motorcycle insurer.
But do you have to wedge it into everything?
What? I don't do that. This reminds me of my bike. The Wolf was about the size of my new motorcycle. Have you seen it, by the way? Happy birthday, Grandma!
Really?
Look how the brushstrokes follow the line of the gas tank.
Hey!
Hey! Brought my +1. Jamie.
Every generation believes they've invented the best way. With age comes wisdom. We've come to realize that every piece of knowledge is learned, passed down from those generous and patient enough to teach. Legacy. It's not about leaving something behind to be remembered by. It's realizing that the future lies within the next generation.
Let's call it a night. All right.
The nature of true progress is humbly building something bigger than yourself. Rocky Mountain ATV MC. This is our legacy.
Progressive GNCC Racing is brought to you by Progressive. Progressive could save you hundreds of dollars on your automobile and motorcycle insurance. Specialized E-Turbo bicycles. It's you, only faster. Rocky Mountain ATVMC.com. Get ready.
And you, dude, we got this. All right, so without further delay, we want to introduce our starting row for the XC1 Pro class here at the Talladega GNCC. Rolling to the line in accordance to points here today. The number 1 out of Bidwell, Ohio, aboard the Phoenix Racing Yamaha, the Bidwell Bullet, Bryson Neal. Rolling to the line next, the number 2 out of Rogers, Ohio, on a WFR Kinda and Fly Racing backed Yamaha, Walker Fowler. Rolling to the line next, coming off a sensational ride in the sands of Florida, eager for his first career podium, the number 5 out of Elk Ridge, Maryland, on a B&R Motorsports and Fearless backed Yamaha, Stephen Harrell. Up next, the number 6 out of Newfield, New York, on an HHR Fly Racing and Quad Tech backed Yamaha, Hunter Hart. Up next, the 703 got his first XC1 podium of his career in round number 1. Looking to make it happen again here today out of Petersburg, Indiana, on the Action Off-Road Maxxis and Lone Star Racing backed Yamaha, Austin Abney. Up next, the number 18, coming off a sensational ride down in the sands of Florida out of Acme, Pennsylvania, on the Action Off-Road Kinda and Custom Access backed Yamaha, Jay Shadrod. Up next, the number 4 out of Akron, Ohio, on a Merritt Racing B&R backed Yamaha, Josh Merritt. Up next, the 712 out of Waxhaw, North Carolina, aboard the Action Off-Road Pierce Performance Phoenix Racing Yamaha, John Galata Jr. Up next, the number 9 out of Casca, Pennsylvania, on the JMR GBC Elka and Moose Racing backed Honda, the Cobra, Jared McClure. Up next, the number 3, coming off his first podium of the season in Florida, out of Hillsboro, Ohio, on the SPR GBC and Pierce Performance backed Yamaha, Wyatt Wilkin. A big welcome back to the 714 out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, on the Bulletproof Doors, Kenda Tire and Singe Graphics backed Yamaha, Ronnie Rush. Up next, the 010, the number 10 out of Sunbury, Pennsylvania, on the Action Off-Road Amsoil CB Racing backed Yamaha, Chris Borich. Up next, the 171 out of Salisbury, North Carolina, on the Phoenix Racing Yamaha, Grayson Eller. Up next, the 521 out of Waverly, West by God, Virginia, on the Ober Moose Racing and Parts Unlimited backed Honda, the Gator, Adam McGill. And last but not least, the 246 out of Walker, West Virginia, on the Sturdy Vant Racing Maxxis and Moose Racing backed Yamaha. Say hello to Brandon Owens. And a safety reminder, all spectators have to be back behind the white stringer line. All spectators back behind the white stringer line, please. Thank you. All right, now it's reach that point in the race as our XC1 Pro class begins to take their lines on row number 1. DJ Judd jumps into the Yamaha R Max 1000. And this, he throws on the sparkle helmet. Details, baby, details. Safety third, at least top 5. That's not true, safety first, always. That's a bad joke. This is where we like to say, DJ Judd, remove the meat. As DJ Judd makes his way off of the starting line with the mobile entertainment activation transport. And folks, if I'm not mistaken, he may be going to the side there, maybe ducking out of the starting line. Keep your head on a swivel over there. Make sure to give DJ Judd some room. And now online will where the maestro Ricky Towery will take the reins of this race. And we go as Ricky goes. And Ricky lets our riders know 1 minute. 1 minute until we are ready to go. Talladega GNCC Racing as Ricky now steps back high in the outside turn of turn number 1. He will look down at his watch. Take a big deep breath. And there it is. Blue flag waves, blue flag waves. Shut them down, shut them down, shut them down. As we are just about ready to roll now here at the Talladega GNCC. And I got to ask you, Talladega, are you ready to go GNCC Racing? Hey, that's pretty good, but this is our first time at Talladega, 50 years of GNCC Racing. I need you to get loud and proud. I'm going to ask you one more time. Are you ready to go GNCC Racing? Booty, booty, booty. 10 seconds for row number 1, the XC1 Pro. Bang, and they're off. As our riders jockey for position through turn number 1. Oh, keeping the power on the ground. And there you go, Walker Fowler going to be credited with the Whole Shot Award as we reset the deck for the XC2 class. Whole Shot Award up for grabs courtesy of B&R Motorsports. So Walker Fowler credited with that whole shot as I look through the dust here at Talladega. We are just about ready to roll with the XC2 class as we wait on the dust to clear. There it is. 10 seconds. Keaton Henderson, Dalton Keys, Andrew Benoski, Danik Paquin, Andre Williams, Christopher Howard, Drew Landers, Braxton Gross, Elijah Edmondson, Kenny Schick, Alex Tiemann, Tavin Cook, Alex Elioff. And that was going to be the 1-4-2 of Andrew Benoski, grabbing that whole shot and early lead, and a couple of riders getting tangled up right at the start. Finally get them separated. That is the 2-2-3 right there, and Henderson in the mix as well. It'll make for a long day in what is a tight old school GNCC racetrack here. 10 seconds. College A, 16-19. Talon Stout, Jackson Carroll, Dylan Trigg, Trevor Meadows, Ryan Wilhelm, Caden Lambruno, Evan Osborne, Tyler Hagan, Cooper Craig, Sawyer Bolin, Trip Alexo. And that's going to be the 7-1-1 of Jordan Berg, grabbing that whole shot and early lead as we reset. Vet A, 28 plus. Ready to roll. Wait on the signal from Ricky Towery. Got one pushed off to the side here. Wait on that signal from Ricky at the top of turn number 1. 10 seconds. Thomas Kuntz, Henry Moore, Dawson Comex, Pierre Yves Denault, James Mora, James Pat Lane, Hunter Johnson, Aaron Blavos, Michael McAvoy. They call him Baby Mac. That looked like the 902 of Fred Marley out of Osgood, Indiana. Grabbing that whole shot and early lead. As we turn our attention now to the Junior A, 20 plus. 10 seconds. David Machisco, Connor Brandt, Brody Livengood, Corey Zeck, Ryan Hendershot, Jeremy Ladon, Riley Salick, Caden Foshbick, Colton Kushta, Trevor Furby, Briggs Lazelle, Todd Fiddler, Joe Brooker, Tyler Coulter, David Witt. And that's going to be the 3.60 of Todd Fiddler out of Sonora, Georgia on the Yamaha, grabbing that whole shot and early lead. But we have got absolute chaos in the first turn. Wait on the signal from Ricky Towery, trying to get those ATVs untangled. There we go. Blue flag waves, guys. Blue flag waves. Again, wait on the signal of Ricky Towery, Senior A, 40 plus. Got him fired up, and here we go. 10 seconds. Dirk DeCerci, Papa P, Jeff Pickens, Will Jones, Ben Dunlap, Sean Slattery, Chris Conklin, and the Marlboro Man, Todd Muscala. Around the first turn we go. And, ooh, man, I think that was the Marlboro Man, Todd Muscala right there. Taking that one away, man. Put a little hot sauce on it there late. Love to see it. College B, 16 to 18. 10 seconds. Keelan Eichelberger, James Berger, Andrew Adams, Austin Kiger, Hayden Ratliff, J.N. Midner, Austin Miller, Eli Davis, Barrett Childers, Connor Humphreys, Evan Bridgewater, Eli Edgar, Gavin Hunt. Grabbing the whole shot's going to be the 3.51 of Eli Davis out of Zionsville, Indiana on that E&A Construction Services back ride. As we reset the deck, the blue flag waves, and we are just about ready for Junior B, 19 plus. Easton Snyder, Hunter Griffith, Cole Mitchell. 10 seconds. Colton Dooley, Sam Corns, Coley McCord, Colton Dobbs, Dayton Rushing, Evan Young, Jordan Hawkers, Zach Schilling, Blake Moore, Jackson Lutz, Austin Turner, Ian Burns, Evan Lowmiller, Scott Lewis, Nate Temple. Oh, mercy sakes alive. That was a 917 of Tyle Jones out of Roche, Missouri on the Honda, getting that one done, doing it with style. As we reset with our Vet B, 28 plus. Tanner Dovasek, Zachary DeNoble, Tyler Travis, Barry Nicholson, Clint Watson. 10 seconds. Eric Murphy, Frederick Harder, Russ Wright, Michael Brown, Tony Chess, Brent Pennington, Joe Rutherford, Ryan Goff, Tyler Miller, Cody Wolford, William Barger, Amy Dunlap, and Cody Catano. 868, that's Amy Dunlap out of Greenville, Pennsylvania on that Benny D's on and off-road WPS and Fly Racing back ride. One rider getting turned all the way around, trying to get his bike fired back up, pushing him off to the side. There it goes. Good job, DJ Judd. A man of many talents right there. Shout out to Judd. Doing a little bit of everything. Here we go. 10 seconds. Vet B, 28 plus. Tanner Dovasek, Zachary DeNoble, Tyler Travis, Barry Nicholson, Clint Watson, Eric Murphy. No, that's my last class. Sorry about that. This is Senior B, 40 plus. I'm living in the past. Aaron Delancey, Bobby McCauley. Oh, a checkup from the neck up. That was close. Neil Shepard was right there, but the man on the inside line gonna hang on to that hole shot. And Mercy alive, you blink your eye. That is it. Wild start, fun start, kicking the dust up at Talladega, baby. Round number 3 is underway, and the heavy hitters already out in front in what everybody is calling an old school GNCC. We'll be right back here in just a moment, get in a word from our sponsors, and be back with more from the Talladega GNCC.
Everywhere but the seat. The seat is leather.
Alan, we get it. You love your bike. We do too.
That's why we're America's #1 motorcycle insurer.
But do you have to wedge it into everything?
What? I don't do that. This reminds me of my bike. The wolf was about the size of my new motorcycle. Have you seen it, by the way? Happy birthday, Grandma!
Really?
Look how the brushstrokes follow the line of the gas tank.
Hey!
Hey! Brought my +1. Jamie.
Every generation believes they've invented the best way. With age comes wisdom. We've come to realize that every piece of knowledge is learned, passed down from those generous and patient enough to teach.
Take a look.
Legacy. It's not about leaving something behind to be remembered by. It's realizing that the future lies within the next generation.
Let's call it a night. All right.
The nature of true progress is humbly building something bigger than yourself. Rocky Mountain ATV MC. This is our legacy.
Whatever you drive, however you drive. AMSOIL specially engineers lubricants to maximize power, performance, and protection in your vehicles, so you can work hard and play hard with confidence. Order online at amsoil.com.
Progressive GNCC Racing is brought to you by Progressive. Progressive could save you hundreds of dollars on your automobile and motorcycle insurance. Specialized e-turbo
Progressive
GNCC. It's you, only faster. Rocky Mountain ATVMC.com. Get ready.
All right, hello everyone, and welcome back to the 50th Annual Progressive Insurance Grand National Cross Country Racing Series. This is round 3 of the 2025 series, the Talladega GNCC. My name is Jackson Burrow. I'm alongside Johnny G and Zach Heron to bring you today's actions. Boys, it is good to be back in Alabama.
We are Dega racing. Come on now, Jack, your legs got to get fired up. We are shaking and baking. It has been a great day of racing so far. And, man, talk about getting things kicked off in the right way. Some of our favorites up up front early. Let's show you how things got started here for this afternoon PM ATV Pro race with our Specialized start recap. Going to break down the XC1 and the XC2 class, kicking things off with our XC1 Pro class. And right from the green flag, there you see it, one of the co-points leader, Bryson Neal and Walker Fowler, two of the favorites, both leading or tied on points, I should say, coming into this. Now look at that. Bryson Neal led them into turn one, but it is a drag race between Walker Fowler and Bryson Neal. Walker Fowler actually being credited with the hole shot, but Bryson Neal would maintain the inside for that turn, that second turn, and lead them last camera shot that we saw. Here you go with the XC2 class. Once as good, twice as better. How about 3 for 3? The 142 of Andrew Banoski puts himself up front early and grabs the lead in that XC2 class. Now, I know what you're thinking. Wow, that was a lot of dust. That is not going to be the tail of the tape for the entire race. We've got some great moisture off in the woods. Here's some recaps or replays of our leaders as they made their way around. Walker Fowler, Bryson Neal, Hunter Hart possibly. There's the Gator. Ronnie Rush. Looks like that's Josh Merritt just behind him. Stephen Harrell. And the rest of the field, yeah, jump in there. Johnny G here in the tower. And another shot a little bit further along, and you can see Walker Fowler putting the hammer down early. One of the characteristics we've heard a lot of talking about today, Johnny, is tight. Talking about needing to get away soon. It's going to be tough to make passes, tough to make up time. Walker Fowler must have gotten the memo.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, Walker Fowler historically been one of the best starters in the game, very quick off the line. And I think today all of these riders realizing, you know, not necessarily the absolute hole shot, but you want to be up near the front if you want to have a chance. And look at this, the guys that are tied for the overall lead, 1-2 in points with Hunter Hart, Adam McGill, and the rest of the crew just nose to nose, right behind them.
Man, this is going to be a fun one to watch. Talked a little bit about Talladega Super Speedway getting as much as 4 wide at some points. We'll touch on that later. Not sure we'll see that here today, Johnny, as we take a look at the Yamaha racing track map. You said you got to spend a little bit of time out there checking things out. What did you see? What stuck out to you?
Yeah, I actually had the opportunity, just like the last 2 rounds, to get out on Thursday, actually do a lap on the Yamaha Grizzly, and a lot of fun to get out there and kind of, you know, get the feel of what things are looking like. And I tell you what, the word of the day is going to be tight, 2 words, and 1 line. I guess that's 3 words, actually. But it is going to be very challenging to try to make passes. Going to be very challenging, especially once we get up into lapped riders. Not even a lot of opportunities for riders to look like we have Josh Merritt. So I think perhaps have our leaders already gone through this camera shot. There's Merritt, has actually made some serious passes and gotten around quite a few riders. There we see, that's Brandon Owens. There's Chris Borich. I see Jared McClure coming through the background there. We saw Adam McGill coming through.
And we did
Looks like John Glada Jr., Wyatt Wilkin, who we saw spun around completely backwards in the second turn. So, hey, man, if you're going to go to a super speedway, you might as well get slideways.
Man, he's got the full Intimidator look as well. The number 3 going to be charging from the back all day long. We did get confirmation our leaders had already passed by that camera shot, so it is still looking like Fowler, Neal, and Hart 1, 2, and 3 early.
There you go. And one other thing worth pointing out, we did see that XC2 start. You know, we saw a bunch of guys. We saw that 142 Andrew Banoski up front. But Braxton Gross, your round 2 winner with a big win, stuck together with Keaton Henderson in the second turn, or actually coming out of the first turn into the second. Leaders on screen, so going to be a long day for Braxton Gross having to make passes. Walker Fowler, look at that, clips a tree, almost blows off the side of the trail. A very tight FMF power point, just clipping a tree with that left rear wheel. You can see him taking a look over his shoulder, and he's already starting to open up a little bit of a gap over Bryson Neal, the Bidwell Bullet. But I'll tell you right now, Bryson Neal, very, very good in these very tight conditions. Very similar to what both of these guys ride at their respective racing series back in Ohio. These guys, it's going to take them a little bit, but they're going to get real comfortable, and you're going to see them really pushing the pace. And it looks like we're already seeing that, because unless we missed, there is Hunter Hart. So there is your 3rd place rider. And look at the gap they've already opened up over him. And we don't even see our 4th place rider, which we think is going to be Josh Merritt. Don't even see him in the camera shot yet. Oh, here he comes now. So that's Merritt, the number 4, in the number 4 spot. Adam McGill, the 521. And those two obviously raced each other hard at Big Buck. McGill getting the better of Merritt there at round number 2, and they're back at it again. Here comes Stephen Harrell. Here comes Brandon Owens. Here comes Chris Borich. And I think what we've got is some wheel-to-wheel racing here very early on lap number 1 as they've just come out of our pro pit area.
Yeah, we've had some of the highs and lows, been the tail of the tape. Josh Merritt and Wyatt Wilkin, some of the favorites from last year. Wilkin not scoring points at round 1, a 3rd place at round 2. Josh Merritt, a little bit of the same situation, a 6 and then an 11. Meanwhile, 3rd place overall in points, kind of quiet but extremely consistent. Stephen Harrell, a 5th and a 4th place to start off the season, puts him in 3rd overall in points, and he's up inside the top 5 right now.
Hold the phone, Zach. You want to say kind of quiet? Absolutely not. This guy has been making some serious noise at the beginning of 2025. I think he's a combined like 2.2 seconds off the podium between the first 2 rounds. Yep. I mean, he has been literally side by side for a podium finish, coming across the finish line at both rounds, which has him solidly in that number 3 spot in the overall in points, like we were talking about last show. At this point, guys, it's not even a matter of time. It's a matter of seconds until we see him on the podium. He's knocking on the door, and I think we're going to see it real soon. Yeah,
I would not be surprised to see him on the box here today at Talladega. Now, another one of the words that we've heard a lot describing this Talladega course, Rudy. Touch a little bit on new locations and how that sometimes leads to the roots being a bit more of a factor at something like Talladega here.
Well, especially here, you see we have a lot of young, what we call juvenile trees here, and so they have a lot of surface roots, the kind of spider roots that go around. They try to pick up nutrients from the soil at kind of the surface level. Well, once you eat down through that top layer of, whether it's fallen leaves, debris, brush, you get down into that soil and it just chews those roots up real quick. We're not talking about big tree roots that really anchor the tree. It's those surface roots that kind of suck the nutrients out of the soil. And honestly, guys, there's just so many of those roots out there. Like I said, Thursday, nobody had really churned the dirt up too much. I was out there on the Yamaha Grizzly checking it out. Then I went out and I pedaled it during the morning race this morning, about half of the track just checking it out. And it's just, oof. I mean, so many roots. And that makes for... It holds the soil together better, so we're not going to see the track get very deep, but what we are going to see is a lot of chatter. The riders are going to be dealing with that constant just chatter, almost like you're holding onto a jackhammer while they're out there riding.
Man, great shot here from our Racer TV cameras, giving you exactly what we're talking about. Not super thick roots, but nonetheless, look at how many there are. Beautiful shot right here. Man, look at our camera operators getting the shots. That's what I'm talking about. And you talk about the chatter, bike setup in situations like this. So many of these riders fall on past years of setup for experience. What do riders do when they're coming to a new location? How do they try to prepare for this? Are they looking for places in Alabama to ride? What can you do to be as prepared as possible here this weekend?
Well, sure, you can go ride places, but the reality of it is, you're not going to be able to replicate these conditions because it's really untouched ground. I mean, there's a few kind of access roads cut through these woods and property. You can tell, you see some hunting blinds out there. I think definitely some people have permission to come out here and hunt. Walker Fowler on screen. But really, honestly, this is going to, in my opinion, bike setup-wise and mentality-wise, this is going to be kind of a throwback race. So guys that have been around the sport a little longer that race some old-school tracks like this, your Walker Fowler, your Bryson Neal, your Chris Borich, guys like that, I think they're going to be able to dial the bikes in a little quicker and also dial in the mindset and the approach that it takes to ride these conditions well. Not to say we can't see other riders up there in the mix. I think we absolutely will. But having the knowledge base to go back to, a big advantage. And look at this, guys. Where is... Wow, that is a gap they have opened up, Jackson.
It sure is. So now on screen, seeing our 3rd place just now making his way through. And, man, I've not saw Wyatt Wilkin yet in the running order. Have you guys?
We did, yeah. He's back in there in the mix, and he was the rider we talked about, was backwards in turn number 3, got on the brakes a little too hard, spun backwards, and virtually left that camera shot pretty much dead last. He's made 3 or 4 passes already. Now we're back to waiting and watching for the number 4, Josh Merritt, and the 521 of Adam McGill. Merritt looking like he has opened up a little bit of a gap over the gator right now here at the 9-mile marker, and this is a absolute feverish battle coming behind him. We've got, in this battle, we've got, oh, look at this now. Ronnie Rush has made the move around Adam McGill as well, up to the number 5 spot, electing to sit out the last round in Florida. Ronnie Rush back with a vengeance. Then it's McGill. Then it's Harrell. Then it is the 246 of Brandon Owens. Chris Borich there, just as we kind of panned away, was the next rider through. So that brings us about to the tail end of the top 10. John Glotto Jr., there was the big number 3 of Wyatt Wilkin, and also Austin Abney on the 703 machine. So here, guys, look at that. Your podium finishers from round 1 and round 2 are all the way back at the tail end of the top 10. There we see Grayson Eller on screen, running in about that 12th place position here, 9 miles in. Rider behind him may actually be the leader of our XC2. We'll have to see when we pan back here just a little bit. That is the 171 Phoenix Racing Yamaha of Grayson Eller.
Grayson Eller kind of getting his feet wet here in the XC1 class.
Jay Shadron. So that was a rider top 5 in Florida. Really kind of not having the best lap one here 9 miles in. I don't think we saw Jared McClure in that shot. He was up there a little further, but there was some back and forth panning with the camera. Another rider I would expect to potentially have a good ride here today. Does very well in these types of conditions. And now we see the XC2 leader, and that is the 341 of Jeremiah Jones. I'm sorry, Jeremiah Wolf. A little throwback to some old motocross days there. Jeremiah Wolf on screen, the 341 machine. Dad Brian was out there in the industry race this morning, and now Jeremiah picking up and leading the way in that XC2 class.
Hey, possibly getting some lines for him going into this one.
The 716 of Logan Steele there in the number 2 spot. So Logan Steele out of Pennsylvania, Jeremiah Wolf out of Ohio. A couple of northern boys really kind of putting it down here in the south, but again, these conditions very much like what these guys run. Different local and regional series up throughout the Northeast have a lot, and even through the Carolinas, have a lot of these tighter tracks, a lot of pine trees. You got Mid-East, Mid-South. You know, these guys, if they run local races, they run a lot of these kind of tracks, just not something we normally see at a GNCC.
And another feature as far as setting you up for success here is patience, right? It sounds so overrated. It sounds so much easier said than done, but to be able to take just a millisecond slower, we saw Bryson Neal in one of those early shots kind of planting the front end and almost scooting the back end of the quad around, not rushing those corners, sliding too deep. All of a sudden, you're bumping into a tree or something like that. It's the simplicity of it that can sometimes be the most complex.
Absolutely, Zach. You touch on that there. That section in the FMF PowerPoint just after the pro pits, that had not been ridden yet. So we don't, here we see on screen, we have those ruts, leaders on screen. There's Walker Fowler still leading the way. Bryson Neal in the number 2 spot. You don't have a burned-in track in the sections that the morning and the youth didn't run, and you can, if you set it just perfectly, if you're not patient, if you try to push it, you can slide outside, catch a tree, which we actually saw Walker Fowler do with the left rear of his machine and almost catapult himself off the racetrack. So you have to be very careful. Once those ruts get burned in, it's almost like slot car racing. You kind of just drop it in the ruts and hammer it, and you can just kind of go, track will guide you. Now it is Hunter Hart coming through, and we can see that gap continuing to open up. Crazy pace for the 2 boys out front right now.
Yeah, and it looked like, Jackson, tell me if you agree with this, looked like Bryson had closed it up a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. Bryson Neal has definitely been able to close that gap up a little bit here in this one. We've been talking about people hunting after podiums. Hunter Hart there in that 3rd place position. He's not found one yet in 2025, so today could be the day. Not quite even in that top 5 there at round number 2, a 6th place finish, a 4th place finish at round number 1. So I'm sure Hunter Hart trying to find his way to that podium.
Yeah, Hart kind of talked about rebuilding here in 2025. It's a 5 and a 4 for Stephen Harrell, a 4 and a 6 for Hart. So only 1 point the difference between the 2 of them, and right now Hart's got the upper hand. The start's been a lot better this season, but maintaining the position all through the 2 hours, that's kind of been the kryptonite of Hunter Hart so far.
It has been. And there is Jared McClure, so we did miss him in that previous camera shot. Then it's John Gallardo Jr., Wyatt Wilkin, and Austin Abney working their way through here at the 10-mile marker. About a mile and a half to go until we'll see them with 1 lap complete here in Talladega, Alabama. To your point, though, Hunter Hart, seemingly struggling pretty badly in Florida, was up in the mix, was running 2nd throughout the first lap and a half or so of the race. Once Walker Fowler got around, Hunter fell back to that battle behind him, and it was to the point on screen we were wondering, is something wrong? He was falling back so quickly. Never did get an opportunity to talk with him to find out if it was just fitness, maybe bike setup, whatever it was. But today could be a great opportunity for him to rebound and show, hey, just like I was at round 1, I'm still in the mix here for podiums. But I'll tell you what, everybody except for the 2 riders on screen is going to need to pick up the pace quite a bit if they want to run with these 2, because they are literally just running away from the riders behind them.
Not only are they running away right now, they are wheel to wheel as Neal continues to have closed that gap up. And kind of looked like whatever David Elder had on that pit board must have not been too top secret. Had it out well before Walker Fowler even got there. Early in the race like this, Johnny, what are teams trying to communicate? Is it gaps? Is it line selection? Early, what information can they really give to their riders as we see Hunter Hart on screen?
It can be, unless they're, at this point, they don't have the data to know, really how long the race is going to be. I mean, we can speculate it will likely be a 4-lap race. But at this point, he doesn't need to give Walker a gap to Walker Fowler, because obviously Bryson can see he's right there. Maybe it's just kind of setting that mindset of, stay calm, breathe, those kind of things, or take the lead. because that's what happened. Bryson Neal has gotten around, and by that gap, I can tell you something has happened to Walker Fowler. We have lost Walker Fowler, Bryson Neal out front all alone.
A huge shakeup. We'll hold this camera shot to see whether or not Hunter Hart pops out of the woods next. This could be monumental.
Here we go. Bryson Neal coming through. There is Fowler.
That looked like Fowler.
But that is a massive gap. I'm guessing we had Walker Fowler connect with the tree or something happened because he has lost a ton of time in a matter of less than a minute.
Well, and I was able to fire the Lamborghinis up, as Jackson likes to say earlier, and kind of walk into that section. It's kind of hard packed. You can see there's some moisture in it, but it was packing down, and it was incredibly slick. Caught a lot of people off guard in the early race. Looked like maybe...
No, he was just reaching back, making an adjustment to his chest protector, looking like it had kind of shifted off to one side. But, yeah, that's you could tell by the head shake there. Yeah. Looks like he's made a mistake, and it has dropped him all the way back to the number 6 of Hunter Hart there in the number 3 spot. We just talked about what a massive gap it was between your 2 leaders and Hart. Well, now that's between Bryson Neal alone all the way back to Walker Fowler. Then on screen, looks like we should have coming the number 4 of Josh Merritt. He had made up some ground, it looked like, in that last camera shot. We see Ronnie Rush coming the other way. Stephen Harrell has now gotten around Adam McGill, and look at this. Brandon Owens also has gotten around McGill. McGill now has some pressure from behind from the number 10 of Chris Borch, and there is Merritt. So that is your 4th place ride there on the number 4 machine.
You got to wonder whether or not Neal applying some pressure to Fowler. Maybe just, we talked about the patience thing, especially when there's somebody, you know, Phoenix Racing Yamaha revving behind you. It's easy to make a quick little mistake, and sometimes if you can't get that thing pivoted like you want, you find yourself somewhere you don't want to be.
No question. I mean, when you have pressure from behind, you know, it could be a situation of, you know, just Walker Fowler taking a look over his shoulder, maybe losing focus for a second. But this track, again, there's so many small saplings, so many trees out there that the slightest little miscue can just put you in a situation, you know, hopefully for him, he didn't twist the machine up too badly, and it was just a situation, maybe he had to hop off, pull the bike back. But the amount of time he lost, I'm thinking he had to do a little more digging to get out of a sticky situation.
Kind of hard to tell on that front shot. Looked like maybe, complete speculation here, but maybe the left side looked tweaked down just a little bit, so maybe a small little contact with the tree, but maybe Hunter Hart getting a pit board that he's right in front of him. It seems like he's kind of rejuvenated and fired back up.
I was just going to say that, fellas. I mean, that can be a big shot in the arm for Hunter Hart right there. He had lost the toe. You know, he had nobody in front of him, nobody behind him, kind of in no man's land there. When they checked in, he was only 11 seconds behind Walker Fowler. That had been up about 30 seconds in our previous camera shot there. There we see Bryson Neal coming through the spillway there, leading 22.6 seconds is what that gap was at the completion of lap number 1 when they checked in. 22 seconds doesn't seem like a lot, but it went from, you know, a half a second down to 22 seconds out front in the span of about a quarter mile. So that is a big shakeup and a big change. Now it is Bryson Neal out front with clear running room. Walker Fowler in pursuit. Going to have to find some magic here if he wants to try to reel Bryson Neal in, because as we saw in Florida, when Bryson Neal gets out front and gets comfortable, it can be very bad news for his competition behind him.
Well, got to wonder, okay, so Johnny, if you're in the head of Bryson Neal right now, is he setting a sprint? Obviously,
Absolutely.
He saw whatever happened to Fowler.
I don't know what the other option is, but yes, he's setting a sprint, yes. No, that's not something, a track like this, there's going to be lappers come into play later in the race, but the bigger gap that he can open up now, he's going to try to break, not just Walker Fowler, he's going to try to break this competitive spirit of all the riders behind him, and if he can open up that gap, that's the way that you do that. Now, Walker's looking like he's maybe opened it up a little bit now over the 6 of Hart. Hunter Hart looking comfortable, looking like he's settled in, and then back to the number 4 of Merritt there in the number 4 spot. See, really starting to get kind of muddy coming out of that little spillway there.
Yeah, finally somewhere to knock the dust off these machines. So it is one thing we've not mentioned a whole lot, very dusty compared to what we've been used to with all this rain the past year or two.
Yeah, and especially in these open sections, you go back into the woods, there's still moisture, no dust really kicking up, but yeah, kind of deceivingly, and it's that topsoil. You can even see underneath, there still is moisture in the soil, but it's packing down, it's not digging deep, and so the rider's getting almost a shiny type texture to the top of it. Ooh. You throw a little moisture.
That's a big change.
Wow, wait a second, that was Wyatt Wilkin, and the Intimidator moving his way through, got the Dale Senior replica.
Wait, we might have missed a pack of riders coming through there.
He was bumper to bumper making it through the finish there.
We did miss it. Okay. There was about 4 riders that came through. As soon as I saw then Abney come through behind him, and there's Jared McClure. Yeah, there was 4 riders. So that McGill, Brandon Owens, I forget who all was in that pack, but that whole pack of riders actually did come through behind Josh Merritt. So yeah, we got McGill, Owens, Stephen Harrell, all those guys all still in there. That's your 5, 6, 7, 8 place riders that have come through. Now back on screen and out front 2 miles in, it's still the Bidwell Bullet. And guys, you can see just absolutely looks like he's on rails right now.
Bobbing and weaving his way through the trees. You can see how hard he's on the brakes in some of these spots. You can actually see the tires lock up, but it's just from full gas to full brakes, Johnny. It's just so much of full throttle, and then you can see he's locking up really tight corners in here, but nonetheless seems to be maneuvering it with perfection.
Yeah, he's hitting his marks. He just looks like he's on right now. 31:39 when he left this camera shot. We'll see what it is right now. It's about 20 seconds right now. Walker has to go a few more seconds to where we kind of cut away from Bryce Neal, right about there. So it's, yeah, about that. It's actually gone up about 3 seconds. Look at this, Hunter Hart, maybe even a little bit closer than that 11 seconds that he was behind. Actually, nope, about 11 seconds. So he has kind of stabilized that gap to Walker Fowler. Bryson Neal stretching it out about 4 or 5 seconds over those two. So that is your second and third place riders on screen.
Kind of seems like there's a few spots in this track where you can do a little spot checking, right? You can see where the competition's at, even if they are several seconds in front of you. As a racer, Johnny, did you kind of look to those sections for motivation? You're getting cues from the pit board, but I think it was just a week ago you even said it's one thing to see him on the pit board, it's another thing to see him right there in front of you.
No, absolutely. It's a great point. You know, when you have that kind of visible reference point, you can see from lap to lap, from section to section, am I making progress? Am I reeling in the rider in front of me, or am I losing ground? It really helps you kind of meter your effort, focus yourself, and really hit your marks. When you know you're making ground, it just kind of inspires you, motivates you, and you kind of get that mindset like, oh, I got him now. And speaking of got him now, look at this, Stephen Harrell up into the number 5 spot. Then it is the 246 of Brandon Owens. Ronnie Rush has now been shuffled back a bit, and Adam McGill back on a charge, back up to the back of Ronnie Rush, and Chris Borge coming along with the gang. That was it, folks. That was 5, 6, 7, 8, and now Wyatt Wilkin has entered the chat. He has gotten around some riders behind him, including the 712 of John Glauda, and he is charging, making up ground, trying to throw himself in the mix for that battle over the top 5. A rider expected to do well today, Austin Abney, not looking like he's quite exactly feeling the flow right now. Jared McClure kind of trying to find his flow, but all these guys still very much in the mix early in lap number 2.
Feeling the flow going to be absolutely crucial here at the inaugural Talladega GNCC. What a location, and what a special thing for us to be able to be a part of Talladega history as well.
I've got Jay Shadron on screen, rider top 5 from your last round.
So as they started, it was Walker Fowler and Bryson Neal, 1 and 2. Walker Fowler was looking to try to make quick work, get out front, and run away. This was the last we saw of him in front of Bryson Neal. Just a few moments later, where did Walker go? He looked like possibly some contact with the tree. Nonetheless, Bryson Neal takes over the number 1 spot and has opened up about 25 to 30 seconds on Walker Fowler. We'll get a word from our sponsors and be right back to the Talladega GNCC.
Unleash aggression, reliability, and premium quality with Kenda Tires. Delivering exceptional performance on all types of vehicles. Automotive, ATVs, UTVs, motorcycles, bicycles, trailers, lawn and garden, and even golf. Trust Kenda Tires to guide you on your next adventure. Kenda, designed for your journey.
born of family values and a homegrown work ethic. Cometic Gasket seals your machine so you can focus on the finish line. Cometic Gaskets are the competitive standard for racers who demand the very best inside their engine. Cometic Gaskets are always constructed from superior materials designed to perform in the most demanding environments. Whether it's a championship on the line or a day in the dirt with friends, professionals and enthusiasts alike depend on Cometic. Cometic Gasket, sealing championships since 1989.
Progressive GNCC Racing is brought to you by Progressive. Progressive could save you hundreds of dollars on your automobile and motorcycle insurance. Specialized E-Turbo bicycles. It's you, only faster. Rocky Mountain ATVMC.com. Get ready. Chew Big Red. That's our Talladega plug. That was stinking cool. I hope we play that. Are we going to play that segment later, Adam? Get some highlights from Dega. We are on the ground in Talladega. Saw a few of the comments. They like the shots. I believe you guys have expanded on that, I'm sure, by now. No drone. And we do have a segment on Talladega. If you're ready, Adam, we can throw it in there if we're waiting on leaders. All right, let's do it. Let's take a look. See what things are like over there at Dega.
Move. Oh, hey guys. Welcome to the International Motorsports Hall of Fame, located here at the entrance of Talladega Superspeedway. We were lucky enough to get to take a look around and even hop in the legend Ricky Bobby's car. Enjoy. Shake and bake. The International Motorsports Hall of Fame opened in 1983 and has since become a must-see stop for motorsports enthusiasts driving through Talladega. The museum and hall have continued to grow throughout the year and have up-close and personal experiences with cars dating back to the early 1960s all the way up to modern NASCAR vehicles. And these aren't just model vehicles, they are the actual cars that got wins at iconic locations like the Coca-Cola 600, the Daytona 500, and right here at Talladega Superspeedway. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Talladega. Turn 4, the steepest and widest portion of Talladega Superspeedway. 33 degrees and 75 feet wide. Drivers come through this turn at roughly 200 miles an hour, 2, 3, and sometimes even 4 wide. We'll see whether we can get some 4 wide action this weekend at GNCC Racing. Tours are available at the Hall of Fame, where you can get an in-depth breakdown as to the vehicles and their drivers, as well as tours around Talladega Superspeedway. Certainly a stop worth checking out here at the inaugural Talladega GNCC.
Whew. Oh, get off me! Get off me! I'm on fire! I'm on fire! Help me, Tim Carter! Help me, Karen Joe! Help me, Caleb Russell! I'm on fire! Oh.
For everybody wondering, we got the fire put out. I am okay.
Good. We're glad that your friend Jackson was able to save you from the non-existent fire.
Hey. How about that, though? I mean, honestly, I don't know if you guys have gotten to go over there. Those cars are beyond mangled. The fact that those drivers were able to walk away, and the big TV just above that, you can actually see the videos of the crashes. It's pretty cool to be able to walk through living history. I mean, all the way back to, they've got plenty of motorcycles there available as well, the early Daytona beach races. Really fun, unique experience, and a huge shout-out to Adam and Brian, both from Talladega Superspeedway, for taking us around and letting us get up close and personal with the cars as well.
Hey, oh, yeah, speaking of Talladega, NASCAR, grassroots racing, GNCC is grassroots racing at its finest. And, hey, we give out national numbers. You got to earn them. And the man who earned the number 3 this season, none other than Wyatt Wilkin, and he is rocking some sweet graphics. We had a chance to catch up with Wyatt prior to today's race.
It was wild. Me and Josh went back and forth like, hey, man, whoever's number 3, we got to do at least one kid of a Dale bike or something like that. So when I did it and then they announced Talladega, I was like, oh, man, this is going to be awesome. Yeah, my favorite one, It's not very big, but just as a kid, I remember seeing this, and I would laugh every time he said it. But Lucius says when they're trying to get the car back on the track, he's like, if we don't get that car on the track, our sponsors are going to crap a chicken. Another word for crap, but that's basically what it is.
He churched it up for us. Thank you.
His Instagram post, he used a little poop emoji.
Oh, beautiful.
But yeah, absolutely. On screen, 7 miles in at the FMF PowerPoint, Bryson Neal out front, leaving that camera shot 41 minutes, 22 seconds, crossing back over that access road. We'll see what the gap is back to the number 2 of Walker Fowler. Is it still the number 2 of Walker Fowler? Has Hunter Hart? It is still the number 2 of Walker Fowler. Hunter Hart back there still in the number 3 spot. We do believe Fowler, yeah, it's continuing to open up. That gap has gotten bigger, Zach. He's been able to stretch it out. It was 22 seconds at the completion of lap number 1. It opened it up to maybe 24, 25. Looks like it is now upwards of 30 seconds. So it is continuing to open up, and Walker Fowler in pursuit. Yeah, wow. Very nearly 40 seconds, it looked like there from that camera shot. And then the number 6 of Hunter Hart entering into the FMF PowerPoint, and here he comes trying to chase down the number 2 of Walker Fowler. So that is your top 3 here at the 7-mile marker in a very, very tight, very technical FMF PowerPoint. They're having to actually throw those machines around the corners to even get through there. Then the number 4 of Josh Merritt in the number 4 spot, trying to put himself in a position to battle for a podium for the first time this year. A bit of a lackluster performance for him in Florida back there in the number 11 spot. You know that's not where he wants to be, as Wyatt Wilkin mentioned in that interview. He and Josh battled down till the final race for that. Wyatt Wilkin rocking it. Josh Merritt wanting to throw himself in the mix to try to take that back off Walker. But I think off of Wyatt, if he looks in his rearview mirror there, which we don't have those, but if he did, he's going to see the big number 3 of Wyatt Wilkin putting in a charge. He's made up about 4 spots in our last couple camera shots. And here we see the battle between Stephen Harrell and Brandon Owens, wheel to wheel. And looks like Owens had a run up the inside, but not able to make the pass stick.
Did it look like he was pointing at the front of the machine right there?
It looked like he was maybe pointing to Hannah Hunter, saying where the water should have been handed off. I don't think he was able to grab one there. That's another thing.
Stephen Harrell making a hand signal.
Yeah, making some hand signals. I saw this last weekend with Stu Baylor as well. How hard is it, Johnny, for the teams to figure out the right spots to be able to grab water? Because what might work when you're by yourself certainly doesn't work when you're under pressure from another rider. They're fully focused on the race, but also it is crucial for them to be able to grab the hydration whenever they get the chance.
Absolutely, and I didn't see actually the point. I must have been looking away. But if you're going to do that, you want it to be a left-hand corner where you don't have to take your throttle hand off. You can just reach over with your clutch hand in a corner, grab it, get the straw into your mouth, and get yourself some hydration without having to let off the gas. Because in that situation there, if he would have taken his throttle hand off, Brandon Owens was going around the outside and making the pass. So yes, again, a lot of strategy goes into where to pass off those hydration bottles. You got to kind of go, you pick out your spots and say, hey, this is where I'd like to get my bottle. Also, pit boards, those kind of things. You want to put them in a place where the rider can see him without having to let up and without having to lose any time. Jared McClure on screen there, the number 9, the sneaky snake. Great start for him at round number 1, was up in the mix and actually up in it throughout the day. He's had some struggles in Florida, was a little bit further back. And then Jay Shadron also coming through there now at the 7-mile marker. Those riders, as you look back there in actually McClure was a little further up. He was in 9th. He's lost some positions there. And then Jay Shadron all the way back in that 15th spot in the overall, with a lot of XC2 riders up in the mix. And actually, folks, when we're looking, something we don't see often on Saturdays, looking at our overall, it actually looks like, according to what we're showing on screen, Jordan Berg was in the number 20 spot overall. I believe that would be, so you're showing something different now, but if you look there on screen, on the left of our screen, let's see if we scroll down here. Sorry, Mikey.
You're good.
Jordan Berg, 21 overall. So our College A leader and Cole Likens in the number 2 spot, 21st and 22nd overall, actually showing as 20th on the screen there. So those will update, but yeah, not often that we see A-class riders this early up into the mix. As the leaders are back on screen, there is Adam McGill. There is Chris Board still behind him, and now it looks like Wyatt Wilkin, actually may have been Wyatt possibly lost a spot there, it looked like. And now we see our XC2 leaders coming through. There's Logan Steele in the number 2 spot, Jeremiah Wolf in the number 1 spot. They've actually gotten around the 171. That's an XC1 rider of Grayson Eller, rider who battled for the championship in that XC2 class just a year ago, giving up a position to the top 2 in that XC2 Pro-Am class.
When they checked in, it was Dalton Keys in the 3 spot with Tanner Walker 4th and James Glotta. Junkin James back there in the 5 spot. Man, XC2, like anything but sorted out through the first 2 rounds and a lap.
Well, and we threw it out there, Mikey. You know, the rider that did very, very well in the sands of Florida, Braxton Gross, was tied up in turn number 2 and a good 30-40 seconds behind before he even got going. So going to take him some time. Alex Tiemann, a rider we know, he's been the most consistent through the first 2 rounds, obviously with a win at round number 1 and I believe a 2nd place or 3rd place finish, I think 3rd maybe, at in the sands of Florida. Danik Paquin, our other podium place finisher there in the sands of Florida, a rider out of Canada. So like you said, man, a lot of young guys, a lot of newer riders throwing their hat in the ring there in that XC2 class. Anything but settled. It's just a toss-up.
Tiemann having a rough go at the start of this one. We checked in with a lap completed back in the 12 spot, so sitting outside of that top 10 looking in.
Yeah, no big gaps, though, as you look down there. Really, the biggest gap was from Logan Steele back to Dalton Keys, 35 seconds back to that final podium position in XC2. Bryson Neal on screen, 9 miles in, and just clicking off the mile markers, hammer down, and looking like he is really locked in here today.
Yeah, no doubt, Johnny. We were talking about those top 2, Bryson Neal and Walker Fowler running away with this race, but they're also running away with this championship so far. Taking a look, 55 points between the 2 of them. So Bryson Neal 55, Walker Fowler 55, and then Stephen Harrell in that 3rd place 34. So 21 points is the difference between 2nd and 3rd place.
Yeah, I mean, that's what happens when you maximize points. I mean, Walker Fowler winning round 1, Bryson Neal in the number 2 spot, Neal winning round 2, Walker Fowler in the number 2 spot. So those guys are taking those 30 and 25 point positions at the top of the rankings, and that's how you get your point totals up real high. Ultimately, you know, last year these guys were kind of back and forth. Bryson Neal opened up the gap, and then it was the issue for Bryson Neal at round number 11, round number 10 actually, that kind of brought Walker Fowler back into that championship hunt. But right now it's just neck and neck, trading wins. Coming in here to round number 3. Hunter Howard, a rider we talked about, really looking to have a good day today. Seemed to be rejuvenated coming into 2024. Had a good, very good ride at round number 1. I'm sure not what he would have liked with a 4th place finish, getting edged out by Austin Abney by a matter of inches for that podium. But the reality of it is, I mean, he was right there, and then just not the ride I'm sure he was looking for in Florida, starting out actually leading throughout much of the early part, or for a portion of that, with John Glotta Jr., where he and John were 1 and 2, and falling back all the way to that number 6 spot, giving up valuable points. So Hunter's on a mission today to prove he's in the mix, he's a podium guy, and right now he's in a podium position.
Yeah, and honestly, Johnny, you look at the top 4 as we're watching those leaders coming through, B. Neal, Walker Fowler, Hunter Hart, Josh Merritt. Those are names I think we expected to see coming into the season, and it always does seem like, hey, we get through the round 1. Okay, round 1, we're all tied. You got some jitters there. Florida, the sand, the one-off. This is the round, even though it's a new location for us at Talladega, this is the one where I think we start to see some of that consistency that we expect.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of got to shake out the cobwebs and shake off the rust, and look at this. As we saw before, it was Brandon Owens putting the pressure on Stephen Harrell. Now the tables have turned, and it's Harrell putting all kinds of pressure on Brandon Owens. These two are, look at this. Harrell's going to try to sneak around the inside, but those tree branches, you can see him giving a little head shake there. Both of those guys just absolutely charging and really pushing each other. These guys did some wheel-to-wheel battling a couple of years ago in that XC2 class, and now they've transferred it right to the front in XC1, and they are just pulling away from these riders behind them. Adam McGill now with heavy pressure from Ronnie Rush, from Chris Borich, and from the 712 of John Glotta Jr., and Wyatt Wilkin has caught back up to that group after spinning out in turn number 2. So those 5 riders literally flying in formation with nothing in it between them, just wheel to wheel. Austin Abney continuing to charge to try to get back up to that pack. Some struggles through the first lap and a half of this one for Abney, finishing on the podium at round 1, just trying to find that flow, trying to get himself in the mix.
So goggles off.
Goggles off. Always goggles off.
Oh, no goggles.
So Glaude going to make his way around Wilkin now. Wilkin did have that position at one point.
Yeah, Glaude looking like he was on the charge. He had, in a previous camera shot, he had fallen back and then suddenly made up some ground and looking like he's finding a flow. Jay Shadron, guys, surely Jay Shadron not having the ride he's looking for at the moment here today, but cannot say enough about the performance he put in just 7 days ago in Florida. I mean, absolutely just emptied the tank. Bryson Neal on screen leading the way. Now you can see getting into lapped riders, and that very possibly could really start to shape how this race comes together. Jay Shadron, beyond impressive in the sands of Florida. Yeah. I don't even know that we can say enough about it.
That's very true. I spoke with him in that progressive pre-race report, and he had a lot of the same sentiments. I think he hit it well, but I kind of poked the bear and tried to get the emotional response of just the things that he's been through injury-wise and coming back and having that kind of performance in Florida. And you can tell it definitely meant a lot to him. And Johnny, you're a pro rider. I mean, you know what one good race and confidence can do for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Oof, you can see not hard to get off the track and make contact with one of these many trees throughout this Talladega race course. This rider doing just that, opting to kind of push to the side here and say, I'm gonna regroup, I'm gonna catch my breath, and maybe we'll go out here and try to finish this thing. But right now, probably sore wrists, thumbs folded back. A lot of trees, doesn't take much. Just getting slightly offline can do that to the bumper. You can snag an A-arm, knock the alignment out of the front end, making that machine very hard to ride. Now continuing to see some more of those A-class riders work their way through at the 7-mile marker. That FMF PowerPoint. Fast forward, 11-mile mark. We're waiting on our leaders. Bryson Neal really been just absolutely perfect since taking the lead from Walker Fowler just shy of a lap ago.
Yeah. Excited about it. B. Neal leading this one out in front. Fowler in that 2 spot. And a lot at stake. I think of anybody, I got to think Hunter Hart wants that. Well, they all want the podium. Let's not be ridiculous. But maybe the guy that needs it the most.
I think between those 2 riders that are 3rd and 4th, they're each
good point.
Very much trying to make a statement here today. Hunter had not a great ride with a 6th place position there in round number 2, but Josh Merritt, a guy who wants to be in the mix for podiums, proved last year that he could be, to finish 11th in the sands of Florida. He had a chip on his shoulder after that one, and we'll see if he can do something about it. He said he had a plan coming into today, said he was going to be on the box. Right now, he's got to track down Hunter Hart if he wants to get in the mix and fight it out for that final podium position. Those guys not far off of Walker Fowler either, after the Fowler mistake or whatever it is that happened that opened up this big gap at the front of the field, and it's just Bryson Neal kind of riding alone.
Yeah, Bryson Neal trying to check out to Laderville out in front, waiting on the number 2, Walker Fowler, and maybe even the number 6 in tow, with Josh Merritt not far behind. So we didn't get the clock on it, but man, Bryson Neal way out in front right now. This is a huge gap.
Yeah, it was 22 seconds when they checked in at the completion of lap number 1. We do know that has continued to open up throughout this lap. Walker Fowler is upwards of 30, pushing 40, and now we're being told 42 seconds is the gap. So another 20 seconds in this lap of racing, Bryson Neal has been able to open up, and that is just a statement ride right there.
Absolutely is. There is Bryson Neal on screen right there. Saw the big boss, David Eller, out there in the woods. So Bryson Neal trying to bring it in for a second lap completed here in a big, big lead. We'll see what timing and scoring says when they check in. But Walker Fowler, kind of on an island by himself, as there is the number 6 of Hunter Hart.
And that gap has now definitely opened up as well. Hunter Hart looked like he put in a charge there and had closed that gap down, getting to where he could actually see Walker Fowler in that field section that we saw there at the 9-mile marker. But Walker pulling something out of that bag of tricks there through those last 2 miles of racing, opening it up several seconds over Hunter Hart. We'll see what the gap is. We should be seeing Walker working his way into the camera shot any moment now, and on cue, there's the big number 2. Pushing hard still. You can see him, as you guys pointed out, hard on the gas, then straight to the brakes, doing everything to maximize time. But the reality of it is the gap continuing to open up. 42 seconds, so he's lost 20 seconds at least, we think, this lap. In just a matter of moments here, we should be able to refresh our timing and scoring computer and find out exactly what that gap is. 11-mile marker back over there, and Josh Merritt is now through. That is your 4th place ride behind Hunter Hart. Fowler has checked in, and Hart coming the other way. So yes, that gap definitely opened up.
45.1.
There you go, 45. So even another 3 seconds in that last portion of that mile. The next tale of it will be. It was 11 seconds last lap is what Walker Fowler had over Hunter Hart. We know he has opened that up, and look at this. Speaking of open it up, Brandon Owens has now opened up a gap over Stephen Harrell. He is really on the charge and looking good, throwing himself in the mix here up inside the top 5 in that number 5 spot and looking like he's hungry for more. I don't think he's done yet. I think he wants to try to charge up, put himself in the mix for a podium. Brandon Owens, a rider that rides these conditions, these type of tracks, very, very well. Years ago, I said if there's ever a track that has absolutely zero flow, I think it's miserable and I hate it, Brandon Owens is going to love it. And that's kind of what this track is.
Yeah, that's it. And you know what? Brandon Owens, to his credit, you know, he's one of those guys that's like, you know, Megawatt Matt Watson's got the joke of like, hey, make me say your name if you're out there. Brandon Owens, we've not talked a lot about this season. And maybe he's on the radar right now. There, Wyatt Wilkins still at the tail end of that pack, just trying to make something happen in a tight, old-school GNCC course.
Yeah, it looked like possibly Adam McGill may have made a pass there. We did not see him in that camera shot. I think he may be ahead of Ronnie Rush now, so he's actually made up a couple of positions there. So the Gator back on the charge, but this man out front, the story of the day, the Bidwell Bullet, what else did I see on Facebook? The Outlaw, Bryson Neal. Yeah. Obviously, we covered his little miscues, missteps of things that happened to him before the last round, getting his machine impounded, and he made some jokes himself on social media. But right now, there's no worry of trespassing. It's just a worry of, can we catch this guy? Because he is absolutely charging away from the front of the field.
Yeah, absolutely checking out. He actually made that statement in that Progressive pre-race report of, you know, I've had the most seat time in the last week, as I did, not all winter break, but he's like, consistently, it was the most seat time he's had. He said, if these guys are going to beat me, man versus man, mano a mano, he's like, their best shot was in those first 2 rounds. So some very, very confident words coming out of B. Neal coming into round 3 and into the rest of the season.
Yeah, that's something you don't really hear much from Bryson.
I mean, he was very, very confident. Adam McGill about to check in right there, the 521. Right now, it's B. Neal, Fowler, Hart, Merritt, Owens, Stephen Harrell, Ronnie Rush, and there is Adam McGill.
Adam McGill checks in, and then behind him, that is the absolute rest of them. You know, you've got all the way back to Chris Borich. Oh, look at that. Fowler going wide, getting up on top of that berm. But as they check in, those 4 riders, John Glauda Jr., Chris Borich, let's see who else was in that pack. Stephen Harrell. Harrell was ahead of them, and Wyatt Wilkin were just wheel to wheel to wheel, and those guys all fighting for a position on track now, trying to get it done and trying to make moves because they want to get up in that battle for the top 5 that's starting to march away from them. Now it's our 3rd place rider on screen, Hunter Hart, the number 6, head down charging, looking ahead, trying to see, can he catch a glimpse of Walker Fowler? 31 seconds when they checked in just a moment ago. He's really going to need to find some magic here to close that gap up, losing about 20 seconds on that last lap of racing.
So I have to assume going to be a 4-lap race. That what you're thinking, Johnny?
Looking at it, I'm going to say yes. I mean, I think
I didn't see the 2-lap card, but again, courtesy.
I mean, I think with a near 28-minute lap time, I would say that we're probably going to be seeing a 4-lap race, meaning when they come through next lap, we should see a white flag waving, but we don't make those calls. Right. We're not race direction. We're just the guys that talk about the action on screen. When we hear officially, we will let you know. What we do see on screen is the number 4 of Josh Merritt sitting in the 4th place position, jersey untucked, getting some clean air to kind of cool him down in the Bidwell Bullet on screen. We saw a head nod. I don't know who was in the woods there, but he was letting them know he's locked in, clocked in, and he is rocking out front and just charging away, looking so smooth and so fast through these very, very tight Alabama pines.
Yeah, no doubt. The Bidwell Bullet has fired off here at Talladega. And now we wait to see Walker Fowler make his way through this mile 1 marker.
And here we see, so it is actually Brandon Owens there now up to the number 5 spot. Oh, look at this. Now Harrell is charged back up. We saw Owens open it up, and this could be one of those things you hear guys talk about. I was better on one part of the track. He was better on the other. Just knowing these two and having ridden with them, Stephen Harrell, very good in the faster, rougher sections. Brandon Owens absolutely kills it in these tight sections that have no flow, kind of like what you see here on screen. You're just kind of having to go tree to tree and just throw the machine around. Brandon Owens, for a little guy, is just so good at that. Yeah. And he flows. He's got great bike skills, and he makes it work. He's seemingly able to stretch it out over Harrell, and then Harrell closing it up. Look at this. Wyatt Wilkin has made not one, not two, but 3 passes, and has now gotten up to, would put him, let's see, 5, 6, 7, the 8th place spot. He's gotten around Borge. He's gotten back around Glauda, and he is putting pressure on, trying to charge after the 521 of McGill, but it looks like Borge has latched on. Chris Borge, a very smart rider. He's able to kind of key off the rider in front of him, especially on a track like this. He's going to try to lock onto that rear grab bar of Wyatt Wilkin, because that is the rider on the move in that group at the moment.
Yeah, Wilkin not wanting to let this one get away from him. I was, kind of expecting and waiting on him to make that aggressive pass. I won't say that. That's been used up enough this year. But made a pass, to say the least, to put himself in a better position and try to catch up with that next pack.
Josh Merritt has some heat from behind him, but is from Lane Michael, one of our chase riders, former XC1 Pro rider himself.
Lane looking good out there.
Lane looking like, hey man, he could be competitive on quad day. He needs to just go out there and mix it up with these guys.
Yes. Yeah, go get Johnny, hook him up. Hook Lane with a Yamaha, man. Get him out there on the ATV day. He won't be able to do all the trail stuff, though. It'd be a violation of rules. But, hey, going to be a great race here. Talladega GNCC, our first time here, 50th season of GNCC. And right now, Bryson Neal, the Bidwell Bullet, absolutely setting off here at Talladega with a huge lead on an island by himself, and as is Walker Fowler in that number 2 spot. Hunter Hart trying to capture his first podium of the year, but all eyes on the Bidwell Bullet out in front, leading the way. We'll be right back with more right after this.
On Track School is an online private school catering to some of the top athletes in the world. We offer a flexible schedule for students that are chasing their dreams and always on the go. We are an accredited K-12 school where students can graduate with a diploma. Scan the QR code or call us to book an appointment with one of our learning coaches to discuss your students' next steps.
OnTrackSchool.com. Check it out.
We've been there since the very beginning.
20 left. The main event. The mud, the blood, the beer.
Organizing the industry and building champions. "100 years of defending your rights to ride into the future."
Community, family, teamwork. It's what we have stood on for over a decade. Hauling might be what we do at the surface, but it's much deeper than that, because what you need matters. When you need a haul, give us a call at 724-852-4488. For 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and 365 days a year, we at JD Enterprises are prepared to serve you.
It takes commitment, passion, and endurance to make something great. Made by champions, for champions.
Progressive GNCC Racing is brought to you by Progressive. Progressive could save you hundreds of dollars on your automobile and motorcycle insurance. Specialized e-turbo bicycles. It's you, only faster. Rocky Mountain ATVNC.com. Get ready.
And welcome back to GNCC Live here on RacerTV.com as we take a look at all those RVs. Is it a NASCAR race? No. Close. Still grassroots racing, baby. And Progressive Campground. Hey, this is something we did at Minios in November. Save money on all your insurance needs. We know Progressive is the #1 insurer of motorcycles, but how about RVs as well? I love this. There's a few of them at GNCC. If you're watching Racer TV, we got a QR code. Check it out. Scan the QR code. Get yourself a quote from Progressive Insurance and see if you can save some money. I'm going to bet you can on your RV insurance. It's something that maybe we don't think about a lot, but when you get right down to it, yeah, we got motorcycles. We've got ATVs. We've got side-by-sides. We've got nice trucks, cars, SUVs. But those campers, the motorhome, check it out. They can hook you up. So Progressive, scan the QR code. Save yourself some money and show some support to Progressive. There's the one mud hole here.
Yeah, the one.
The one. We're okay with that, though. The weather's been absolutely perfect. It's been beautiful, and not mad about it. We are over the hump here, 2 laps into it, a little more than an hour into the race, and this has absolutely been the Bryson Neal show.
Yeah, Bryson Neal been firing off here in this one. Last time we saw him a 45-second lead over Walker Fowler. And not only are we racing GNCC here this weekend, right across the road had the World of Outlaws sprint cars come to town as well.
And as you can see, that's about as slideways as you can get here. Green flag went flying. Some dust flying over there as well, but wasn't able to make it in person. Was living through Jackson's Snapchat story, but man, it looked like a great time out there.
Man, they were absolutely flying. It was a great time. A lot of our GNCC racers, as you can see there, Josh Toth, coming out and getting to see these sprint cars go in full force, and that's exactly what they were doing last night.
And it's kind of comparable. It almost looks like some of those quads in some of these wide open sections that go out wide, you know, get sideways, cut underneath. Really cool racing, motorsports enthusiasts of all kinds, 2 wheels, 4 wheels, with a cage, without a cage, all having a great time here at Talladega.
We got to get Ricky Towery on the mullet game right there. I don't know if that was a mullet, but he had a nice ponytail back there. That was good. We also had a chance, one of our downed riders, Zach Jackson, I'm going to hand this one off to you guys. This was incredible.
Being a Charlotte native, the home of NASCAR, this was really something special. Richard Petty is from about 20 minutes from my hometown. That's some of Darrell Waltrip's cars. I mean, these go back to the early days, the late 50s, the early 60s, the beginning of NASCAR before it was NASCAR. They're racing Daytona on the actual beach. Not just the 4-wheel side of things, but breaking down the way some of the bikes were involved as well. And each one of those cars has a little placard that you can see. It's got the stories, paying tribute to some of the pit crews as well. Really cool to see how much of an effort they put into marking the history of this sport. It's a huge part, as you can see, Dale Earnhardt Jr. That is the car, valued at just over $1 million because Dale drove it and because it won, I know, 2, I think, Daytona 500s and then another race as well. Those 2 cars, over 700 miles an hour, Mikey. That is a missile with a cockpit in it, basically.
Beautiful.
It's so cool, and they are open all weekend for all of our folks that are here in person. You guys can see them later today. I believe they're going to be closing, maybe not today.
Around 4 o'clock. You can go today until 4 o'clock. That is the International Motorsports Hall of Fame here in Talladega, so maybe 15 minutes you might can go get in.
Just run
Who knows?
Run over there,
Jump in the car, go 700 miles an hour, you're fine.
They're open tomorrow, but they're not open Monday, so if you're here with us on site, make sure to get over there tomorrow before you miss your chance here this weekend in Talladega.
Yeah, and everybody wanting to join with us if and when we come back to Talladega, put that on the to-do list. Take a Talladega Super Speedway tour as well. So much fun, such a historic location, whether it's 2 wheels, 4 wheels racing. I think everybody has heard of Dega. As we get pit stops underway, pulling in just around a lap rider and B. Neal. Got the pit crew here. We can do the air horn noises. They're changing tires real quick, splash us Sunoco fuel, and then they're back off and running.
And there it is.
Hey, that was the lock-in.
There it is. Oh, it's
we got
on
a lock-in.
It is on now.
Game over. Locked in.
Lock-in has been spotted. Might call that the shake and bake for this week.
Yeah, shaking and baking for sure.
He definitely did that for Racer TV right there. That was good, man. So B. Neal is having fun on his ATV right now, which is bad news for everybody else. Walker Fowler making his way around. Expect to see him check in for, we will see him check in for a pit stop. And, you know, while the first few guys have got pretty good gaps in there, as tight as the rest of the racing is and as tight as the track is, these pit stops for a lot of them boys are going to be huge.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we talk about being an individual sport, but having this transition right here down to a science, being able to say exactly what is needed, get it done in a quick manner is so crucial, and we've seen races come down to it at some points. Walker Fowler taking his time, seems very relaxed, if you will. I'm wondering whether or not he hurt that hand or not. I've seen him take the hand off the handlebar a couple of times. He's reached behind his back, and even right there, almost just looked like he was kind of holding it.
Yeah.
Maybe here in a few minutes, I'll see if I can run down to the Walker Fowler pit and see what they've got to say about it.
Yeah, the kind of ground he's losing, too, also kind of makes you allude to that, no doubt.
And no sense of urgency right there.
Right.
That's certainly not like the Walker Fowler you guys talked to post-race in Florida. He was, I asked Johnny in here off air, do you think Walker will be satisfied with today? And he's like, I don't know. It's hard to tell. And just by what he was telling you guys, I'm like, no, that was a man not happy.
Yeah.
You cannot, I'm not going to say give up wins, but you can't afford to not win against the number one of B. Neal. Hunter Hart into the pits now.
Well, and it's also a huge...
Oh, that was in and out.
That was a quick one right there. It's a huge thing as well because, look at Cal Naughton Jr. putting fuel in the number 4 machine.
Cal Naughton never had quads like that.
I was about to say, Cal's not repping 500 on deadlift, but...
So Hunter Hart in and out of the pits. He said, man, we got to get this machine back out here.
Levi Cohen was in there saying, maybe sometime you let me ride the quad. Maybe let me win one right there. That's my best friend. So Josh Merritt, the number 4, working through right here. A much better day out of Josh Merritt here today.
Yeah, and this is what Josh needed as well. He had so much fire in the 2024 season. It went from I can get a podium on a regular basis to I can grab a win to I feel like I could win almost any day, and just haven't had that same momentum to start the season. And we touch on this all the time as well. It doesn't matter what you did last year.
Right.
Oh, that's in the review. What have you done for me now? And when you have not one but 2 rounds not really go your way, it's so hard to keep the belief up, to keep the momentum going, and to kind of completely pivot your season. So Merritt doing a great job right now responding. No better place to do it than a brand new location. There's no bad juju. There's no superstitions coming into it. This is what you make it.
Oh, head shake from Stephen Harrell.
Yeah, Brandon Owens is through this pit area. He's back onto the trail. That was him in that last camera shot.
Yep.
Now seeing Stephen Harrell making his way back into the woods. So going to be a little bit of a gap there between those two.
Maybe that was a little of the frustration right there by Harrell, like thinking, man, I could not let him get away, and he has. See what he can do with the gap, or maybe Harrell's able to link back up with him.
And no doubt, going back to Hunter Hart, I do not think Hunter Hart did that pit stop the way he did, just because I believe that he knows Josh Merritt is right there behind him, going to be pitting as well. We need to get in and out.
Yeah, it seemed like maybe almost just a splash. It wasn't just a full fill up. Obviously, we know how detailed these teams are, knowing exactly how much gets put in.
John Glotta Jr. Same for him.
Yep, Glotta, a very quick stop. Wilkin,
same thing.
Gas and go.
A lot of the guys able to keep the goggles. We have not seen that. Man, honestly, probably in a season and a half, we've not really been able to see guys keep the same set of goggles. But conditions here today, pretty ideal.
And look at this, the battle now between John Glotta and Wyatt Wilkin. I believe Wilkin was in front of Glotta at one point, so maybe John starting to pick up the pace a little bit. Could possibly be some problems for Wilkin.
Yeah, he was ahead of him for a good deal. And now seeing Abney on screen on the 703 machine. And what was that?
Oh, sorry. 4-lap race confirmed. Oh, and the visor's off for the Gator, Adam McGill. And there goes the number 10 of Chris Borich just behind McGill there. So those guys going to come in. So Adam obviously having a gnarly get off somewhere. And back on it.
So there's Abney making his way through. Now seeing the big 18 machine pulling in.
Jay Shad getting refueled.
Headlights on in full force. And there's Ronnie Rush on the 714 machine, grabbing him a splash. Looks like he's trying to say something there to the pit crew. Tries to shake off some of that arm pump, and he is going to head back into the woods.
See our camera crew there behind for the Blackwater film being made. Can't wait to see that next season. It's been really cool. Obviously, we're here in person. We get to watch kind of the shots that they're getting and talk about capturing the full emotion of the season and breaking down not just what the racing's like, but what the atmosphere and the families are like here at GNCC. That's going to be a fun one to watch.
And they are definitely getting
into it.
The pros and the cons of racing GNCC. We had a youth rider today with some struggles, had to push that machine off to the side. You may make the cut. You may not like that, but you may make the cut. But that's what GNCC is all about. The number 9 right there, the Cobra, Jared McClure, in and out, getting fuel and back on the charge.
Well, guys, I'm going to run down to the WFR pit, see if maybe we can get an update on Walker Fowler. Hopefully everything's going to be good, but I'd like to hear it from the horse's mouth himself, Mark Naughton.
All right, Zach, sounds good.
So Jared McClure on the move, and now I believe we are back out front with the numero uno of Bryson Neal, the Bidwell Bullet, all by his lonesome.
And here he is on screen, mile number 9. He is through. So, man, Bryson Neal, what more can you say? Absolutely rocketing off here today. Taking a look, last time we saw him, like we said, 45 seconds was the gap between him and Walker Fowler. Back to Hunter Hart was around 30 seconds, then another 30 seconds back to Brandon Owens. And then Brandon Owens, of course, not going to be too much farther ahead of Stephen Harrell there, around 10 seconds when they came through the finish. Of course, we know that has changed just a little bit now. Looking on screen. I believe one of our lap riders there. Amateur riders.
Yeah, last time, I think you just mentioned it, 45 seconds was the gap. And not a huge sense of urgency we saw out of Walker Fowler into the pits. Kind of taking his time. Looked like he might be nursing the hand a little bit. So our man Zach Herron's on his way to check that out. Johnny, you grimace. Do you have some insight on that?
I don't. I didn't even actually see what you guys did on screen. I stepped out of the studio. But the time that Walker, we do a lot of assumptions, make a lot of assumptions and try to extrapolate that. Walker still looks good. He's definitely charging on screen. But the time that he lost there at the end of lap number 1, we'll wait till after the race. But in my mind, not the race, not the analyst in me, but just the racer in me, he hit something. You know, that's the only way you're going to lose that kind of time. And if you're saying it looks like he's nursing his hand, 2 + 2 usually does equal 4. He's still able to kind of stretch that gap out over the number 6 of Hunter Hart. But I am told that there we go. Look at this. Now we've got a battle over the number 3 spot. Josh Merritt has caught Hunter Hart, and now this is the battle for the final podium position. And these two not that far behind Walker Fowler. We may have a 3-way battle here soon, Jackson, over that number 3 spot. Look at this. Around the outside. Hunter Hart running him very wide. Josh Merritt trying to come around the outside there, having to let off, running out of real estate. But if you are Hunter Hart, now you know who that guy behind you is, because he was just next to you.
Yeah, they just rubbed shoulders right there, exchanged plastics. That was good.
Good, hard race, and both of these guys absolutely pushing the limit. And those two hooked up like that, trying to push, that may actually cause them to push the pace and maybe even close down that gap to the number 2 spot of Walker Fowler there on the number 2. We look back, we wait, we watch. Who will be the next rider through? When they checked in, it was Brandon Owens up to the number 5 spot. Last lap in this section at the 9-mile marker here in this field, we saw Brandon Owens and Stephen Harrell pretty much side by side. Owens, no immediate pressure, but still looking so good. Big shout out to Brandon Owens on that Sturdivant Power Sports machine, taking a look over his shoulder there, looking back into that section, saying, okay, now I've opened up over these guys behind me. Need to try to reel in the guys. Another look over. He's really wanting to know, hey, what happened to that Stephen Harrell guy? Because he was just all over me, and he is just putting a pace down right now, at least, that Harrell cannot match. Harrell still looking very good there in the number 6 spot, but just not quite able to match the intensity, the speed. And as I pointed out, man, Brandon Owens just so good in that very tight stuff. He's so quick, tree to tree, just makes those quick adjustments with the machine, carries so much speed through those sections. When I stepped out, I heard you guys say Bryson Neal gave us a lock-in, and at that point, you almost got to wonder, is anybody going to have anything for that guy? Because when he's locked in, just so good he is.
Just totally dangerous. Stephen Harrell, we saw Johnny when he went in the pits, kind of a head shake and a little frustration there.
These two have changed positions 3 or 4 times now. Now it's Glauda back around Wilkin, and Wilkin on that number 3, the Intimidator machine, trying to intimidate John Glauda, but Glauda has been able to make the pass and get back around Wyatt Wilkin, and that right there is the battle for 7th place, as it looks like. they have gotten around the 521 of McGill.
Yeah, we saw McGill.
There we go.
Check in.
McGill now.
Visor's off, and he has got company with Chris Borich.
We've got the battle for the Vet XC1 class on screen. Adam McGill and Chris Borich, these two, how many times have they had this battle? Adam McGill missing his visor there. These two have battled each other decades at this point. And doing it again here near the front of the pack and inside the top 10. Both of these guys on a charge and not far behind that battle in front of them between Glotta and Wilkin.
So battles all the way down here in this one now. And I'm really looking forward to this one between Hart and Merritt here. Both of those riders, you know, really wanting to get up on that podium. Both of those riders needing a podium finish here. So I think it's going to be a barn burner for that third place position.
Absolutely. Both of those guys, a little bit of extra motivation. Neither one of those riders having a podium here so far. Look at this. Jay Shadron kind of getting it together here, really starting to make a charge. We saw he had kind of fallen back off of that group there. Now he's actually made some passes. Looks like he's gotten around McClure. Looks like he's gotten around Austin Abney, and he is up. There goes Walker Fowler past the opposite direction at the other side. This is actually closer to the 10-mile marker on this shot, and shredding, trying to catch up to the Bidwell Bullet. But right now, when they came in there with that last lap, 45 seconds, I believe, was the gap. We will get them when they come in with 3 laps. What we think, maybe, don't know if we've confirmed.
Yes,
okay, a 4-lap race.
Confirm.
See, I leave the studio for 2 seconds. You guys get all this great information.
All the pertinence.
On screen, we got some lapped riders coming through. So difficult to navigate these tight trees on an ATV. And behind them comes a thundering big number 1 Phoenix Racing Yamaha, still hanging on to that hydration bottle, keeping himself hydrated. This is where things can get a little bit dicey if you're Bryson Neal. You got to take your time when you catch these lapped riders. You don't want to catch them off guard, because if they catch a tree, you're stuck behind them with nowhere to go. But the 45-second gap, he's in a good position.
Yeah, he is just stellar right now. Maybe watch some ATV SX on Tuesday with his teammate over on the moto side, Joel Hetrick, doing a similar performance.
Those guys actually raced again yesterday at Decker Training
Facility.
Facility.
Right. Yeah, I forgot.
The Triple Crown, I believe it was called. Joel Hetrick going 1-1-1 in all 3 motos and taking the win there. So Bryson Neal trying to keep up with the kind of the gauntlet that his teammate is throwing down. Perfect so far in 2025 and completely perfect in 2024. Joel Hetrick did not lose a moto on that Phoenix Racing Yamaha. So Bryson Neal trying to say, hey, I might have given up round 1, but 2 for 2 is the best I can do right now, and he's getting ever so closer to what we now know will be a white flag waving.
It's a dangerous man right there. Bryson Neal about to pop out of the woods, and he will see Ricky Towery in amongst the lap traffic. It was 45 seconds back to Walker Fowler after 2. See what it is after 3. Hunter Hart on the charge, Josh Merritt. And there he is, the number 1, the Bidwell Bullet.
Intensity, 10 out of 10. Bryson Neal leaving nothing to chance now with the white flag waving. He will have 1 more lap around this famed Talladega Superspeedway property till he can lay claim to what very possibly will be a win here today. Walker Fowler still giving chase, but just not able to match the speed, the intensity. Bryson Neal looking like he's on rails. Next up, we know, here it comes. Coming here in just a couple seconds, we may have a wheel-to-wheel battle between the number 6 of Hunter Hart and the number 4 of Josh Merritt, fighting it out over that final podium position here.
We'll see if possibly a move has been made. Very well could have. Those 2 riders wheel-to-wheel last time we saw them, like Johnny was saying.
Josh Merritt having the momentum on his side right now, because obviously he's been able to catch Hunter Hart. Mikey, did we get a gap? Has Walker Fowler checked in?
Have not
yet.
Look
at this.
There is
Josh Merritt up into the
lonesome.
number 3 spot, has gotten around Hunter Hart and doing exactly what he had said coming into the day. He said, hey, first 2 rounds, that wasn't it. That wasn't me in Florida. I've got my head on straight, and I'm going to put it on the podium today. Doing just that, and now a big gap. I think we're in a situation where Hunter Hart might have pulled a Walker Fowler here, because he has lost a bunch of time in just 1 short camera shot, likely connecting with the tree, and now giving up time. And here is Hart well behind, which may put him in the position where he's having to fight off some riders charging behind him. We know there's a snarling pack of riders back there. Brandon Owens, the 246, Stephen Harrell on the number 5, and the rest, Adam McGill, Chris Borich, we got Wyatt Wilkin, John Glotta Jr., all those guys not too far back from that camera shot there. Walker Fowler getting a little
slideways.
There we go. Slideways. Brandon Owens, the 246. We talked about how smooth he looks. Not in that camera shot, but he is absolutely charging.
1 minute and 40 seconds now, the gap. So Bryson Neal flirting with that 2-minute mark as far as the gap is concerned between B. Neal and Walker Fowler. Zach, you had a chance to run down to the WFR pits.
Yep. So chatted up with Mark Notman. It was not contact with a tree. I guess apparently right before he entered that area, got caught up in a deep rut and actually got stuck for several seconds. And so not sure exactly where that rut is, how it happened, but no, as far as Mark Notman told me, everything is good. He was a little frustrated. I talked about seeing that left hand reach back a couple of times. He lost his drink hose. It had flipped behind him.
There you go.
Was not able to drink any water. So I think that was what we saw Fowler back there reaching around for. But as far as we know, everything's good on machine. Everything's good on WF. He's ready to keep on shaking and baking.
So Walker Fowler in the number 2 spot. Josh Merritt has checked in the 3rd place spot. What is that gap, Mikey?
37.6 up to Walker Fowler, and we are waiting on Hunter Hart to check in still. And another battle on screen.
This is the battle we've been watching between John Glaude Jr. and Wyatt Wilkin. Every time we see these two, it seems like they are wheel to wheel. They've swapped positions 114 times so far. This track may be difficult to pass on from what everybody's telling us, but somehow those two are finding a way.
They have, and by the way, Hunter Hart checks in 4th. He is 29 seconds back from Josh Merritt in that 3 spot.
So, we're going to have to get we've talked about this so many times. What we think are pretty obvious things that happen on screen, afterwards we'll hear, no, we passed each other 5 times off camera. Today, we've seen it with Wilkin, and also, look at this, now Chris Borge making a move. Looks like he's gotten around the 521 of Adam McGill. That Vet Pro battle really heating up there. Making a joke there. Yes, those guys are XC1 pros, but both of them well past the age where they could be racing in that vet class. And actually, Chris Borge could be racing in the senior class, and he's still out there in the mix. Austin Abney now making up ground. Looked like he was struggling through about the first lap and a half, finding his flow now, getting himself up into a battle for the top 10 with Borge and Adam McGill. On screen, Walker Fowler, the number 2. 1 minute and 40 some odd seconds, you told us there, Mikey. At this point, Walker Fowler made mention of it at the Florida race. Once he saw that gap to Bryson Neal, he said he threw in 1 lap where it was a heater, felt like he put his best foot forward, lost about 7 seconds, and said, well, today's not my day. I'm just going to have to keep trying to fight. These two are John Glaude Jr. checking in, Wyatt Wilkin. Mikey, we should just about, I think in another couple seconds here, we'll have our top 10 checked in, and we can get a rundown as we go back to the 1 mile marker, and Walker Fowler continuing to dial that machine. Folks, 1 minute and 40 some seconds behind, but this rider is absolutely flying. Really just gives perspective how fast Bryson Neal's going out front.
Yeah, absolutely insane. We heard, we spoke about it early in the race. Bryson Neal saying it himself. I am as good right now as I have been since last season. I didn't feel the best in the first 2 rounds. And if this is a preview of what we see out of Bryson Neal the rest of the year, these guys, it's going to be a long year. Long year. Oh, and here we go. Lap traffic. Tight course. No problems right there for Bryson Neal, at least for the moment. No problem there. Able to course his way around.
It's pretty easy to tell when you have a lead rider coming up behind you. The ground starts shaking. Yes. There's a deafening noise of a 450cc machine just revved out, letting you know, hey, I'm coming. Would be great if you don't do this and hit a tree and block the trail. You can just kind of move to the side. Those guys will find a way around. It is a little tougher on a track like this, but as you saw, the lapped riders, really trying to do everything they can to allow that battle for the lead, or in this case, Bryson Neal all by himself to work its way through. Then Brandon Owens, man, can't say enough about this guy today. In the number 5 spot, charging hard for what will be his first top 5 of the year if he's able to get it done here today, and looking like he's not slowing down, continuing to charge. He's got a good gap to make up. How far is he behind Hunter Hart there?
Let's see. Hunter Hart in that 4 spot, and Brandon Owens checks in 5th. He's about almost 24 seconds exactly up to Hunter Hart.
I'll tell you what, man, I wouldn't put it past Brandon Owens the way he's riding right now. He may try to, surely he's going to try, but he may actually have a chance to get up in that mix, potentially to get to Hunter Hart, unless Hunter's kind of able to regroup after lost a big chunk of time in that section. Almost 30 seconds to Josh Merritt in about 1.5 miles of racetrack. Something coming undone there, I do believe, for Hunter Hart. And it's so hard when you lose your rhythm sometime to get it back. Now we see Stephen Harrell, I believe the standout performer of 2025 so far, up into that 3rd place position in points on the back of solid performances through the first 2 rounds.
Yeah, Harrell was, we talked to him prior to the race, and just very motivated. Not upset, but motivated by the end of that race in Florida. Of, he wants the podium so bad, in his own words, and he's like, man, I made one dumb mistake, and that kind of made the difference in my race that day.
So that is your fifth and sixth place. Now here's seventh and eighth. The 721 of John Glada and the number 3 of Wyatt Wilkin. 712 of John Glada and Wyatt Wilkin. Glada actually able to open it up a little bit in that faster section of racetrack. Josh Merritt continuing to really look like he is on rails, just looking dialed in today. Had an opportunity to talk with Josh after his performance in Florida. Look at this. This is back to the old days of GNCC. You guys might be a little new to this, but this head nod, you go, no, you go. This was Adam McGill and Chris Borich for about a 5-year period. Whoever was feeling better, they had this kind of gentleman's agreement. You lead, you're better in this section, and they would use that to try to pull away from the competition behind them. Well, now, a little longer in the tooth, later in the years, they're using it to try to catch the riders in front of them, and it's working. They're putting on a good charge here in what will be this final lap of racing action. Both these guys looking good, and I believe that would be your 9th and 10th place riders in the overall as they run.
Very cool section right here at the 1 mile mark. The camera shot does a great job. We saw such a vast variety of lines. You could see where most of the grass had been tilled up. Brandon Owens specifically, I saw really trying some different lines out, looking for almost more traction as you see him on screen in some of those grassy areas, avoiding the slick, hard-packed soil that had kind of been kicked up.
Absolutely. Sometimes you got to try to find that traction where it gets slick. Jay Shadron on screen, again, big shout out to him. After that great performance in Florida, to me, he was the one that kind of stood out the first couple of laps. Like, uh-oh, what's going on with Jay? A little bit of a Florida hangover, but right now he's on the charge, and he's trying to fight his way back up into the top 10. He's got Adam McGill and Chris Borich in front of him. He's got some ground to make up, but it's not out of the question for him today.
The headlights are flying as we continue the inaugural Talladega GNCC here from Alabama. The battle is on. The pit stops are complete. Bryson Neal checks in and checks out of the Phoenix Racing Yamaha tent. Got some clarification on what was going on with Walker Fowler. All good physically, but he's going to try to chase down a rather big gap to the number 1. And then this man is on the charge. Can Josh Merritt work up and fight for an overall podium? We're going to get a word from our sponsors, and we'll be back to the Talladega GNCC.
Everywhere but the seat. The seat is leather.
Alan, we get it. You love your bike. We do too.
That's why we're America's #1 motorcycle insurer.
But do you have to wedge it into everything?
What? Don't do that. This reminds me of my bike. The Wolf was about the size of my new motorcycle. Have you seen it, by the way? Happy birthday, Grandma!
Really?
Look how the brushstrokes follow the line of the gas tank.
Hey!
Hey! Brought my +1. Jamie.
Every generation believes they've invented the best way. With age comes wisdom. We've come to realize that every piece of knowledge is learned, passed down from those generous and patient enough to teach.
Take a look.
Legacy. It's not about leaving something behind to be remembered by. It's realizing that the future lies within the next generation.
Let's call it a night. All right.
The nature of true progress is humbly building something bigger than yourself. Rocky Mountain ATV MC. This is our legacy.
Progressive GNCC Racing is brought to you by Progressive. Progressive could save you hundreds of dollars on your automobile and motorcycle insurance. Specialized E-Turbo bicycles. It's you, only faster. Rocky Mountain ATVMC.com. Get ready. And welcome back to GNCC Live. What a shot. That's history of racing, history of motorcycles. I love the Mark Martin number 6, a Valvoline car, by the way. That was my best friend's dad's favorite. I guess he just liked Mark Martin. Why? I don't know. He's like Mark Martin. But yeah, we're back at GNCC here in Talladega, making some history. You got to love the Dale Earnhardt Jr., the number 8. Virginia is for lovers. There's some love for the Virginia natives. And, boy, yeah, so coming into today's race, hey, we're showing some love to Stephen Harrell and the successes that he has had, and coming up just a little bit short in Florida. And we had a chance to catch up with Stephen Harrell prior to today's race.
It's business. I really want that podium, man. Like every round, I really do. And I've been working my butt off. Come short a couple races so far, but just gotta keep grinding, and it'll fall into place, when it's meant to be. So I'm very excited. Been working my butt off. I'm just excited. I really am. 100%. That one stung for sure. I was down a lot, and I wanted it so bad. I was just gritting my teeth, just getting gritty, and I came short, of course, but I made a mistake, and I hope to God I don't do that again, because I got lucky. I hit that tree hard and bent that frame up pretty good, but I finished, and I'm in one piece, and that's what matters.
Not often.
Getting a nice inside scoop there. And one of the things I always like about Steve.
We love that insider information.
Oh,
absolutely.
Whether you talk to him on camera or off camera, he's always just kind of got this, man, this is what's going on. And I had a bad weekend, but he's just never too high up there or too down in the dumps. And I think that's a great way for a racer to be as well. But I don't think, no matter how soft-spoken he is or how calm he seems, I don't think you can hide the fact
on the machine.
that he wants the podium.
Here's what I can say about Stephen Harrell. My observation, and a lot of people's observation, he's a guy, he hasn't had like this crazy, like, boom, out of nowhere. Here he is. Who's this guy? He's winning. He came up through the amateur ranks, and when I say
very quietly.
Well, he didn't start racing until not really that long ago. So he only had a few years in the amateur ranks. He ended up winning that A-class title, and once he figured it out, super dominant. He had a couple years in that XC2 class, and he was solid. He was up in the mix. He was a podium guy. And then when he figured it out, he absolutely crushed that season in 2023 and was just untouchable in that XC2 class. Then he moves up last year, Bryson Neal on screen, moves up to that XC1 Pro class. And I told you guys, and a lot of people knew this isn't like insider information, it's just, it's an observation. He doesn't make these crazy moves. He doesn't really, and I don't want to say he doesn't go for it, because to run so close to the top 3, he's going for it, but he's calculated. And when he figures it out, he doesn't do it once. He does it week in and week out. Last year, as a rookie pro, was battling inside the top 5, 6, 7 every week in and a week out. We get more towards the end of the season, and it's almost consistently top 5s. Had he not been upstaged by Wyatt Wilkin and Josh Merritt in that big battle for number 3, I mean, he was really one of the stories of the season, but he's just so quiet, just lets it happen, puts the work in, lets the results speak for themselves. Suddenly we fast forward to the opening round of 2025, and this guy isn't just the top 5 guy anymore. He's not up there in the mix for the podium today, but the first 2 rounds was right there for the podium, and today looking like it may not be the day, but it won't be long before we're saying, and congratulations on your first GNCC overall podium, Stephen Harrell, because he's there, he's got the work ethic, he's got the mindset, he's got the program, he's got great people around him, and this kid is figuring it out very quickly.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Did some training with Walker Fowler, too, as well. So,
yeah, spent the whole winter down at the Flamingo Ranch South. And look at this. Josh Merritt has gotten around Walker Fowler. Josh, we talked about Josh Merritt on the move. Well, he's really on the move now and has gotten around the number 2 of Walker Fowler up into the number 2 spot. Guys, I got to tell you, I had an opportunity to speak with Josh a little bit this week. I don't know what to say or not to say here, but the 2 weeks between between Big Buck and Florida, a lot of things going on. Yes. I think Josh's mind very much somewhere else.
Sure.
He came into Florida and said he would say things like, "I think I'm ready to go." Started making weird adjustments to the bike coming into the race. I think he let a lot of things affect him. Frankly, took a lot of heat online for the events of round number 1, and right now, he's showing what he has been capable of last year and what we expected of him at the beginning of this year, up in the mix and getting around. Look at this, Walker Fowler trying an inside line and smoking that tree, trying to put a pass back on Josh. But these guys wheel to wheel, and this is a battle for number 2. I think what we're seeing from Josh Merritt here today is he's finally figured out, I can only control what I can control, and he's out there riding his own race, and what that's done is propel him up. And look at this. Can we get confirmation from OPAG? Did we see Hunter Hart come through at the 6-mile marker, or has Brandon Owens made the pass for the number 4 spot?
Ooh.
OPAG, if you can hear me. If not, we're going to assume, nope, Hunter Hart's still there at the 7-mile marker, so still solidly in that number 4 spot. Our cameraman letting us know he can hear us. Thank you very much. Hunter Hart still solid ride in the number 4 spot. You got to feel like Hunter's going to feel like he let this one slip away a little bit, with Josh getting around him, but still a 4th place finish. Oh, look at this. See, this is one of those sections where that rider just went a little wide, tapped that tree, and Hunter had nowhere to go. That rider then moving out of the way and allowing Hunter to proceed through in the number 4 spot. Next up should be, and there he is on cue, the 246 of Brandon Owens on that Sturdivant racing machine, charging hard, trying to get up to the number 4 spot. Look at this now. The battle between Wilkin and Glauda has actually caught up to Stephen Harrell, and that is now the battle for 6th, 7th, and 8th on screen.
Pick a spot on the track. There's a battle between the XC1 guys outside of Bryson Neal, who is well out in front.
Bryson Neal stopped for a sandwich.
Yeah, yes.
Quick one, just a PB&J.
That's fine, yeah. But boy, outside of that, I mean, just battles all over the place. Merritt last night during that fan fest, I flat said, we don't have to talk about the pink elephant in the room. It's behind us now. I said, but how do you set aside things mentally and physically on the track when maybe something is bugging you in the back of your head as we watch that battle unfold in front of us? And he's like, at this point, I'm a pro rider, I'm a pro racer, and I'm going to race the guy next to me, period. Flat out. Like, I don't care who it is. And that was the first time since Big Buck I heard that kind of confidence back in his voice and in his expectations for himself.
Here's the thing, man. As a professional rider, as a professional anything, especially athlete, you're going to take criticism. But I can tell you, man, it doesn't sting any less when people say things. And you are still human, so it affects you. Some guys are better at it than others. Some guys use it to fuel them. I think, personally, close enough with Josh and kind of talked with him throughout the weeks from Big Buck, even through this last week, and I think he was trying to use all the trash talk and everything to fuel him, and ultimately he figured out, I'm better than this. I don't need to pull myself down and worry about things that I can't control. What's happened in the past is behind me. I got to race today, and I'm going to race forward, and he's been racing forward. He had such a bad start. He was like in the back of the pack, and he charged his way up through, now into the number 2 spot, and look at this, Jay Shadron charging. And we saw that battle on screen. Now look at this. Here comes the battle between Adam McGill and Chris Borge. Chris Borge waves McGill around and says, you go. And now he's charging. And as they get closer to the finish, the question is, does Chris Borge have one more borage in him? The borage. It became a verb. It was a thing you do where you follow someone till the final moments and then you make a spectacular pass. The crowd's screaming. Everybody loves it. And it's so exciting, looking like that may unfold possibly between these two for the 9th and 10th place position. Adam McGill right now has 9th. Chris Borge wants it. And just behind these two, the 703 of Austin Avenue. A solid bounce-back ride. Florida definitely did not go the way he wanted it to. He says he's the fittest he's ever been. Levi Cohen in that Outlier performance training program have him dialed in. I'm going to be honest, Austin, you can be mad at me. Expected a little more today. I thought these conditions would be good for him.
Yes.
But it could be just a situation of maybe missing the bike setup a little bit of arm pump. Anything happens. Even though he's sitting back in that 11th place spot, he's flying.
Yes.
You know, these guys are all going so fast. It's crazy. Jay Shadron, another rider that seemed to struggle early and now finding his flow. We may see a battle between about 4 or 5 of these guys come together from multiple different positions coming to the finish, and it's been really exciting racing throughout the day.
It's been very good. And to your point on Austin Abney, he said himself, man, this feels like an IXCR track back home. So I think he would agree with you. Maybe left something on the table here today. Starts were important, but as we know, starts don't always make or break the race. But nonetheless, there he is, just outside of that top 10. Meanwhile, waiting on B. Neal to come through in that big battle. You're on live on Racer TV.
There we go. Jared McClure coming through there. I was actually Jordan Berg's mom there on screen. He was running up inside the top 20 overall from that College A class. Don't know if we can get that top end. We don't usually often get back unless those guys are up inside the top 20 to mention them, but maybe
Jordan Berg still top amateur, currently sitting 23rd in the OA.
And leading that College A class.
Yes, and leading by, unless I missed somebody, I don't think I did, 1 minute and 41 seconds. Harrison Lindsay is your second top amateur, and Talon Stout is your third, all three out of that College A class.
Wow, Harrison Lindsay. So Jordan Berg and Harrison Lindsay, pretty much best buddies, and 1 and 2 in that overall amateur right now. Oh, looking down there, I see 18th overall Braxton Gross. So not where he wants to be, putting him back in the, let's see, one. Oh, we got a change for the lead in that XC2 class. Logan Steele has gotten around Jeremiah Wolf. Alex Tiemann in the number 3 spot, and Braxton Gross, actually, he is only 17 seconds behind. So, guys, we may not have it on screen, but if you're watching at home, there is an absolute barn burner going on in that XC2 class. Logan Steele leading the way. Only 5 seconds back, Jeremiah Wolf, and only another 9 seconds back, Alex Tiemann. And Braxton Gross has charged through from being dead last in that XC2 class and is now up into the mix in that number 4 spot, charging, wanting a podium. So this one far from over, and the XC2 boys are throwing down here late in this one. Also, shout out to James Glotta, big bounce back ride for him in the number 5 spot in that XC2 Pro-Am class.
Been an exciting day. Talladega, you have not disappointed. And an old school GNCC and old school Racer TV broadcast. We actually could not fly the drone here in Talladega. And you know,
I like it.
I've liked it, man. I've liked it. It's been fun. The drone is nice, but this has been up close and personal, just like we like it on Racer TV.
That is Alex Tiemann there. So that is your 3rd place, at least as they checked in about 7 miles ago. Your 3rd place in that XC2 class. And who do we have here? Hard to tell there. But that was definitely Tiemann coming by. He's actually got, that was your leader, Logan Steele. So it looks like we may have a new leader in that XC2 class. So there is Logan Steele. We did see Alex Tiemann come through. The other rider that we know was in the mix there was Jeremiah Wolf, and I think that may have actually just been him there as well. So it looks like Alex Tiemann may have pulled out some magic, made 2 passes, and gotten all the way to the lead in that XC2 Pro-Am class. There's Jeremiah Wolf. So he is in 3rd and lost some time. That gap has definitely opened up. Don't know if we've yet seen Braxton Gross come through there on that number 223 machine. But there is Jeremiah Wolf grabbing that early lead in that XC2 class, been up in the battle, and right now we do believe rounding out the final podium position. So cool to get a good shot of those guys, get them some love here in that XC2.
Ronnie Rush
goggles
there. Off.
Yep, little good run for him the first couple laps, but looking like maybe some miscues or things caught up with him there. And there is Gross. So that is your 4th place rider in that XC2 Pro-Am class. Big bounce back for him after a bad start, but a big win just 7 days ago. You know, if he's not able to get up to the rider in front of him of Jeremiah Wolf and battle for that podium position, Braxton's surely going to be a little disappointed at the end of this one.
Absolutely.
On screen, James Glotta. So there's 5th place in your XC2 Pro-Am class. That almost looked like, if we go down, do we have a... To me, that looked like it could have been a battle over that 5th place spot. It was Andre Williams out of Rockaway, New Jersey. So the top 5 all through on screen, top 6 battling in that XC2 Pro class. Here comes, looks like possibly Elijah Edmondson. That may actually be one of our, hard to tell who that was. Looked to be possibly Cole Likens, but I wasn't sure.
I was going to say Likens was leading, well, in that College A. Would have been in that 21st position.
Here is the battle on screen. James Glauda and Andre Williams wheel to wheel in the 7-mile marker FMF PowerPoint. This is a battle for position in that XC2 class with some lapped riders in the mix. You can see some hydration being held out here. Neither of those riders taking it, but still charging. So Alex Tiemann, new leader in XC2. Just when you think he's going to have to settle for a third, he's been charging through the pack, getting stronger as the race goes on, and has now taken over the lead.
It's a head nod.
Yep.
He said, I've already locked in, guys. You get one a race.
Looking good. Bryson Neal on rails. It's going to be a bit, but here in around about 1:45, 2 minutes, we may see a battle still on screen. Actually had a video sent to me from one of the fields just now. It was still Josh Merritt and Walker Fowler wheel to wheel, inside out, outside in. I mean, true 4 wide, 33-degree banking, Talladega racing action, dirt flying. There was fans out there. They were dressed up in Ricky Bobby costumes, and everybody was enjoying themselves, watching one heck of a battle over that number 2 spot between the number 4 Merritt and the number 2 of Walker Fowler.
Thing of beauty. Let's see how that one sorts out. Walker Fowler and Josh Merritt. Merritt feels like a contender. This is an opportunity here going up against Walker Fowler, because you know Walker does not want to let go of that 2 spot.
B. Neal coming through, and this is it, Mikey Waynes. We are going to have a checkered flag. And I don't know, you don't want to get the cart before the horse, but this feels to me like a dominant performance that could be setting up Bryson Neal potentially to really get the momentum shifted in his direction, looking like he wants to make a statement and say, hey, we might have split wins in the first 2 rounds, but this is what you guys are going to have to deal with for the rest of 2025.
And Bryson Neal very good at the Camp Coker Bullet, and he is obviously very good down here in Talladega as he brings out the checkered flag and will take the win in the first ever Talladega GNCC. Congratulations to the number 1 on that Phoenix Racing Yamaha.
I've got an observation here, Mikey. Did you see how he raced even those final corners?
Yes.
To me, this was a statement ride from Bryson Neal. We saw Walker Fowler and Bryson trade wins through the first 2 rounds. Tied on points. All the talk was, this is a battle. These guys are going to fight it out. Today, Bryson Neal, when he gets the lead after Walker Fowler gets stuck, drops the hammer and never relents. Not a single camera shot did we ever see where he let up. I believe this was a statement to say, if you guys want to win, you're going to have to come to the tune of 4, 5, 6 times the intensity, because that's what I'm laying down.
And sounds like as we watch these celebrations by Bryson Neal wheel to wheel between Josh Merritt and Walker Fowler. Here it is, Johnny Gallagher, and it is Merritt out in front leading the way.
Yeah, Josh Merritt has it. Walker Fowler wants it. They are pushing, and this is the final section of racetrack. Not a lot of passing opportunities, but you know Walker Fowler's going to take any chance he can. Josh Merritt going to do everything he can to fight him off, and just in a matter of a few moments, they're going to be emerging from this woods line. They'll have one more chicane back into the woods, and then just those couple corners coming to the finish. It's going to be a battle right down to the wire.
We will jump back to that shot as we anticipate the number 4 to be out in front. There's Levi Cohen, Cal Naughton to the top left of your screen, and going to be cheering on his guy, maybe Josh Merritt out in front. I'm trying to watch Levi maybe see some body language right there.
That's Landon Glauda is also as well standing with him. They're flapjack, so they're watching, they're cheering both these guys on. But you know, actually both of these riders ride for Outlier Performance and Levi Cohen, so he's probably cheering them both on and saying, hey, we've got a battle. Let's just see it come down to the finish line. Right now, Josh Merritt has it.
Look at this.
Walker Fowler around the outside trying to get a move on Merritt, but this is really all just one line through here. I don't know that there's anywhere left unless Walker Fowler really has a trick up his sleeve, or he can square him up in these final chicanes. We're going to find out here in just a few seconds who will emerge. Will it be the number 4 of Josh Merritt? Will it be the 2 of Walker Fowler? We got some lap riders in the mix, Mikey.
This is going to be...
Oh, it's Walker Fowler.
Walker Fowler out in front of Josh Merritt. He makes the pass into the 2 spot as Merritt will have to settle for 3rd place here today. Merritt made an aggressive pass in round number 1, and I think it was going to be an aggressive pass to get around Josh Merritt. Walker Fowler makes it and gets around him, and it is a congratulations both ways between those guys. A hell of a fight.
Yeah, you see that. I mean, great sportsmanship there. They came across just embracing, and that's what happens. You leave it all out on the track, and these two did just that. There you see the big hugs coming in. But right now, the story of the day, this guy right here, the Bidwell Bullet, the outlaw, Bryson Neal, getting it done.
The outlaw right there. That is the number 1. We're going to get a word in with Bryson Neal, and hey, obviously, Johnny, we want to hear from B. Neal on the day, but I am ready to hear about that last pass there by Walker Fowler over Josh Merritt.
Hi, Bobo. Bobo, if you're watching at home, look at this. Here comes, this is another battle that's been going all day long. Wyatt Wilkin and John Glada Jr. We've just got battles all over this racetrack. Look at this. They've actually gotten around Stephen Harrell.
Oh.
They made the pass on Harrell, so that is a big charge. I think, has Brandon Owens checked in the number 4 spot yet?
No, he has not.
Sorry, Hunter Hart.
Hunter Hart has not checked in. And I believe we are ready. Well, hopefully we'll catch that. But we are standing by with our winner, the Bidwell Bullet, the outlaw, Bryson Neal.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, we are down here with Bryson Neal. Bryson, a little bit of shake and a little bit of bake. You get the win at Talladega. Take us through it, man.
Oh, man. This track was phenomenal, man. The weather, the dirt, the true Blue Woods racing with just the traditional GNCC of what we got in the early 90s, 2000s, which you don't hardly get anymore. This track had it all. It was so much fun. I had an absolute ball out there the whole day. My bike was phenomenal, and it feels it's amazing to win the first ever inaugural Talladega as well. That's something special. And did we get the whole shot today too?
You just missed out on the whole shot. They gave it to Walker, but I mean, it was a drag race.
I felt like I had it, man, because I overshot that second corner, but we'll take it. Got a great start, and we're just super proud, super pumped, and dang, man, that was a great day. We had so much fun. Track was a little bit tight on the first lap, but by the time we got in the second and third lap, it just got more fun, because we just kept figuring out the track. The lines were developing, the track was opening up a little bit, and I didn't want to stop riding. I wanted to do another lap because we don't really get racing like that all the time, and that makes me excited for Old Gray.
Absolutely. Now, a couple of those sections, you had some wide open sections, but especially on that first lap, we saw the real tight, untouched track. Patience was a key, and you seemed like you were able to do that. How do you stay calm in those situations? You were chasing Walker Fowler at the time, but you also know exactly how detrimental not being patient in those situations can be.
Man, it's tough because this track is one of those tracks that can just jump up and grab you, just bite you at any corner. The trees are just so tight. There's so many roots. The ruts were getting real deep and developed. He's wanting to, he's coming into them. He was just hitting these big chunk holes, and he's trying to jump out, and the trees were real tight on your tires rubbing, so you could just, you could bend a tire rod, you could snag a tree, you could flip over at any moment. So first lap, we stayed pretty reserved and just tried to just figure out the lines, figured out the track, and from there, it was just like every lap just got better and better. We figured out where to go. The fans kept opening up more lines. Trees got knocked down and mowed over, and it just kept on getting more racy and more racy. And dang, I had fun. I had a blast. I didn't want to stop. I can't lie. I did not want to stop. I wanted to do one more lap.
Hey, well, we're bummed it didn't come down to a foot race, but man, nonetheless, it was fun to watch. Bryson Neal grabbing the inaugural XC1 win here at Talladega.
Well, big congratulations again to Bryson Neal, the Bidwell Bullet, capturing that first place finish in the first ever Talladega GNCC in what was a photo finish, albeit in the woods where we couldn't see it right there at the end between Walker Fowler and Josh Merritt. And we're getting those interviews set up here. Really looking forward to hearing from those guys.
Interesting, Bryson Neal said maybe 3 times during the interview, but definitely at least twice, I didn't want it to end. I just wanted to keep going. That just shows you the kind of ride he was on, man. When everything's flowing, when everything's working, you feel like you could just ride forever.
Dangerous man. Dangerous man.
While we get those interviews queued up, looks like we do have our complete top 10 checked in, Mikey.
Yes, B. Neal and Walker Fowler 1 and 2. Merritt going to take third. Hunter Hart checks in the 4th spot with Brandon Owens rounding out your top 5. John Glada going to take 6th place with Wyatt Wilkins 7th. Stephen Harrell 8th place. 9th going to be McGill, and Chris Borich rounding out that top 10. And it sounds like Jackson Burrell standing by with our 2nd place finisher, Walker Fowler.
Yep, guys, I am here with Walker Fowler. Walker, man, a battle all the way down to the line there. Take us through your race here today.
Frustration. That's the name of that game. Not happy at all with how that day went. Just started good. That was pretty cool. And I'd say about 15 seconds into the track, I just knew it might be a long day. I kind of got just out of sight of Bryson. I was like, all right, maybe I can pull this off. And then he clicked it up a gear, caught me, and there was 100 people standing around the only mud hole on the whole track, and I got stuck in it. And so I appreciate everyone's help, making sure we didn't get stuck there. That was cool. And knew it was over. I literally said that. Everyone's standing there. I'm like, well, race is over. Let's just go right around today. So, good for Bryson. I can't go that fast anymore. There's no excuse, no nothing. I'm happy for him that he can go that fast. I'm not willing to these days. So, did what I could. Just a frustrating day for sure. Really thought I had the second place pretty good. I had a decent pace and just still kept finding trees, kept finding lap traffic, and couldn't keep myself out of trouble today. So back to the drawing board as usual.
Walker, my last question for you. You feeling healthy leaving today? We were worried about you. We thought you might have hit something out there. You feeling good?
When you're riding around at 30% all day, you can't hardly get hurt. So I don't know if I can't see. I don't know what the deal is. I just not good at riding my four-wheeler these days. So just more got to figure something out.
All right, guys, back up to you.
Well, Mikey, when you're a racer that has 78 wins and 7 championships, that's how you voice your frustration. He knows he got, let's not sugarcoat it. He got trounced today. He's not happy about it, but I'm sure he'll go back to the drawing board, come back and fight. You saw the fight in there at the end. He was able to wrestle that position back away from Josh Merritt. We'll see if we can get word from Josh of exactly how that went down, but it was good racing, and it looks like we are ready with our third place overall finisher, Josh Merritt.
We sure are. Josh Merritt, third place here on the day, coming all the way down to the line. Man, you really surprised us. Weren't expecting you to get up back to Walker Fowler. Then we see you around Walker Fowler. Take us through your day.
And it all started with that start. Got a great start and went into the woods behind Adam. Thank you, Adam, for moving over for me. And really, we kind of gapped everybody at first, and then he let me by, and we kind of pushed some more. But just took my time, and thank you, JG. Really rode the track. Took care of the front end, and the race was coming to me. I was just out there, just going through the motions, and everybody, all the fans were saying I was catching Hunter, caught Hunter. He makes a mistake. Glad he's okay because he had a really bad get off. Went around him, and then just kept riding. I was just like, all right. And then literally a few miles later, Walker's off of his four-wheeler with like 3 or 4 lappers. I don't know what he was doing, but he was off his four-wheeler, went around him, and I'm like, man, I'm getting a little tired. I haven't had to push this hard in a while. And with the number 2 behind you, a multi-time champion, he was pushing me. And, it was so much fun kind of playing the block. Like, I was just blocking. And with how tight the track was out there, I could just play that game, go a little slower, make sure I hit my marks. And, he bumped me a few times and here and there. And it was all good. And there was one line to go, man. I charged into the one line, and he charged in the other, and he had the inside. He just come into me, and that's all she wrote. He had the inside. It was a great pass, and that was so much fun. I'm so glad to be back up on the box. Thank you, JG, for those words. My mom, my dad, my fiance, my sister, everybody, man. This is awesome. I'm glad to be back up here.
Congratulations, Josh. How did you feel about this Alabama course? How do you feel going into round number 4, headed back into some sand?
This is Talladega right here. That was so awesome. And the parking's awesome. The track, it was tight, but it made for great racing. And I think everybody can, say that it kept us tight, it kept us battling. And look at that finish. That was so much fun. And I hope you guys enjoyed it.
All right, Josh Merritt, happy with his finish here today. Third place. Back up to you guys.
Well, congratulations to Josh Merritt. And, hey, Merritt said it right there, bro. Don't leave the inside open.
Yeah, left the inside open.
Left the inside open,
Walker
Josh.
Fowler slammed through the door.
So it happens. But, yeah, that was spectacular. What a great race. By the way, we're going to look at that Specialized race recap. Before we do, B. Neal winning today, 2 minutes and 28 seconds. I think that may have had something to do with the frustrations of Walker Fowler. But, again, Specialized race recap. Walker Fowler getting credited with the whole shot award. And then Bryson Neal, the number 1, gets out in front. And, man, Johnny just never really looked back today.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, once he got to the lead, at this point, 9 miles in lap 1, it was still Fowler leading the way. Even here at 11, right after this is where things went sideways. Fowler saying there was a mud hole, didn't really know which line to take, and then this is where the race shifted. Bryson Neal got through there cleanly. Walker Fowler gets stuck, and at that point, you can't give the Bidwell Bullet anything. You know he's that good. He's on top of his game. He's locked in, and he just started to absolutely put on a clinic here in the woods of Talladega Superspeedway, just hitting his marks all day long. Intensity at an all-time high. The battle here over the final podium position. Merritt trying to go around the outside. Hunter Hart just absolutely slamming the door shut, and a lot of contact between those two, but good, hard racing, working their way through. Merritt ultimately able to get around Hart, putting on a charge and trying to track down Walker Fowler. Didn't look like it was going to happen there for a while, but he just kept charging. And then there was this, well, I guess this was back to the front. Bryson Neal still out front. You can see just moving that body all around, doing everything he can to get every inch of speed out of that machine, pushing the pace and continuing to open up the gap more and more. You see Walker Fowler coming in, contact for about the 3rd or 4th time between those two. Hard racing. Bryson Neal coming to the finish. This was towards the end there, nodding, saying, yep, I got this one handled. Lap rider saying, I don't want to do another lap. Nope. Bryson Neal, little wheelie across the finish line, and the Bidwell Bullet takes his 2nd win of the season on that Phoenix Racing Yamaha.
Boy, just an enormous congratulations to Bryson Neal, the first ever. And how about this? This was, Josh Merritt and Walker Fowler. And look at this, a little love tap right there by Fowler, and Fowler able to get him.
You can see kind of waving to the fans on his way through there. Josh Merritt having to pull a tear off. Maybe the contact knocked some sweat up into his goggles. Those two hugging it out, high fives, and saying, okay, we did battle today. 3 weeks, we're going to do it again in the sands of Camp Coker. And then this battle, there was just battles everywhere. John Glaude Jr., Wyatt Wilkin trying to go slideways around the outside. You can see that rear number plate hanging down, likely from contact. These guys, very good friends off the track. But when you're on the track, you got to do what you got to do to get it done. Man, and they were pushing the pace. That was a battle inside the top 10 as well. You see those guys coming across in 6th and 7th place as they get around Stephen Harrell late in the race.
We didn't get a chance to talk about it, but, man, the battle, as we look at the top 10, between the Gator, Adam McGill, and Chris Borich, that was kicking it old school. It's fun to watch those guys going back and forth, and they will round out your top 10.
And a big shout-out to Brandon Owens as well there. Yes. A big solid ride for him there in the number 5 spot.
Very good point. Well, Johnny, Talladega, it's back. It's not new anymore, man. We have broke it in. Bryson Neal, a convincing win. What's your big takeaway from today?
I think my big takeaway from today is a track that I wasn't sure would provide us with great racing, gave us absolutely some really good close, tight battles, and the Bidwell Bullet made a statement today. So many guys throwing their hat in the ring, but he was able to just come out on top and say, this is my series. If you want to take it, you're going to have to come through me.
Absolutely correct. Put a stamp on this one, and then I think Walker Fowler, not happy, and rightfully so after this race.
We've seen
Johnny,
this. We've seen this before.
And you know, I know down on himself right now, and folks at home, I'm just going to say, don't read into that too much. That man has 78 wins for a reason. He's not done, and I think maybe that was almost Walker Fowler speaking to himself in those moments of like, bro, you got to find something deep down in you to make it happen and come out here and
he's done it before, and there's no reason to doubt that he couldn't do it again. But, man, some heavy pressure from behind, and welcome to the battle at the front, Josh Merritt. Yeah. That was a statement ride for him today as well.
That was good. So, great race. Don't know what else to say. Congratulations to Bryson Neal. He will leave out of here in Talladega with the points lead. And, boy, we've got more coming up on RacerTV.com. We'll have round number 3 of GNCC here tomorrow in Talladega for the two-wheel side of things. And then, of course, we got a couple of weeks off, and then we'll be in Camp Coker in South Carolina for round number 4, the Camp Coker Bullet. And then in round number 5 will be the Old Gray coming up in the 12th and 13th of April. On behalf of Jackson Burrow, Zach Heron, Johnny Gallagher, our camera operators, Mike, Matt, Josh, Adam, Leah, Kirsten, Jack, and Cameron, and our honorary camera operator today, the drone pilot, Gabe Scholl. We still put him to work, folks. Our manager, Dan Reinhardt, our engineer in charge, Jordan McFadden, our director, Don Hampton, our producer, Adam Gordon, and our executive producer, I'm Mikey Waynes, and you've been watching GNCC on RacerTV.com.